Chapter 494, Eve of the End, 5. Seeing. I extend my consciousness domain and lower my gaze. My consciousness domain has expanded to an immense size. This entire star system feels as though it fits in the palm of my hand. Everything within a radius of 0.6 light-years enters my mind. Within this range, I am omniscient. Though I only did the advancement ritual using the Heaven Tribe method and haven't yet achieved Heaven and Earth dual cultivation, at this level, I probably wouldn't easily lose to anyone. Whoom. Behind me, instead of the 3 great ultimates, a wheel emerges. It is a wheel with 8 spokes. I can sense it. The cultivation of the sacred vessel stage will require me to fully materialize these 8 spokes. The cultivation of the 8 types of fates that Hweol spoke of. That is the cultivation of the sacred vessel stage, and it seems this goal is represented by these spokes. I should ask other sacred vessels for more details. With that thought, I look downward. I can see the people of Mengyun Star all looking shocked. After all, with the disappearance of 7 stars, it's only natural for them to be alarmed. However, among all the confusion, the most startled must surely be the Candle Dragon race. The Candle Dragon race have all been relocated to Mengyun Star. Although there are minor differences among the Candle Dragon race who had lived on the 7 stars, they all ultimately originate from me, so the differences aren't significant. The race that had evolved while living in the hell that was my world, that is the Candle Dragon race. Although they initially expressed some dissatisfaction about the slightly lower levels of heaven and earth spiritual energy, they quickly settle into Mengyun Star's heaven-like environment, each finding a spot to lie down in contentment. But this is strange. I feel a hint of puzzlement as I observe the Candle Dragon race. Is it normal for a completely unheard-of race to emerge during the sacred vessel advancement ritual? I decide to ask someone more knowledgeable about this phenomenon later. For now, I store a sample of the Candle Dragon race's bloodline genes in my world and move on to find someone else. It is Kong Minhee. Finding her is easy. She is still floating upside down alongside Seo Ran, absorbing her scattered fragments. It seems she's almost completed her advancement as well. But perhaps due to her connection to the underworld through the flawless mantra, the more Kong Minhee finds her essence, the more she seems to lose her former self. Once bright and cheerful, the more she absorbs the fragments, the more she seems to lose her human appearance. She is changing to resemble the ghost-guiding Holy Mother and is visibly losing her rationality. Seo Ran, who once protected Kong Minhee, is now being dragged around by her. I frown slightly as I glance at Seo Ran. Now that I think about it, 2,000 years ago, I had briefly opened my eyes. At that time, when I swept through Kong Minhee's surroundings with my consciousness domain, I had seen her accompanied by Blood Een, Seo Hweol, and Seo Ran. Back then, I was too out of my mind to give it much thought, but in retrospect, it was absurd. I can overlook Blood Een, but Seo Hweol, that bastard. I have no idea when he managed to blend in with Kong Minhee. Snap. I snap my fingers and Seo Ran appears before me in an instant. Kong Minhee looks startled below, but this isn't the time to pay attention to that. Senior. Stay still for a moment. I place a hand on Seo Ran's shoulder with my eyes gleaming. Whoom. The wheel rises behind me. I incorporate Seo Ran's consciousness domain into the rotation of my consciousness. Senior. Ugh. My consciousness feels like it's about to scatter. Don't worry. I'm just pulling out something vile. After some time, from within Seo Ran's consciousness, dark and dirty things begin pouring out like a swarm of bugs. Come out at once, snake scorpion bastard. Finally, all the black things within Seo Ran's consciousness burst forth. Woodaduk. I clench my hand and attraction force condenses, causing all the black things that came from Seo Ran to explode except one. Everything my gaze touches burns away, leaving no trace behind. Squirm. After some time, the final black fragment rises, taking on a human shape. I hastily transfer Seo Ran into my world and glare at the bastard. What do you think you're doing, Seo Hweol? Nothing much. Just struggling, that's all. You. I glare at Seo Hweol. His entire body, for who knows what reason, has taken on a faint reddish hue compared to when he absorbed High-End Eum. Unlike High-End Eum, who had been covered entirely in a black robe, Seo Hweol is now cloaked in a dark red robe. I devoured Blood Een's clone. It was fortunate. If Blood Een hadn't been busy subjugating Jai Eum, I wouldn't have gotten the chance. Now, I've crawled right up to Blood Een's doorstep. I should thank Taoist Seo. There's no way you've only done such things to Blood Een. Since you've meddled in Kong Minhee's advancement ritual, didn't you do something to her as well? My apologies, but I'm not bold enough to attempt such things to the ghost-guiding Holy Mother. Who knows what might happen if I were to again peek beyond within her? Ho. I glare at him as I speak. What are you planning to do with Seo Ran? 10,000 years have passed. That much time is more than enough to extend my dominion across the corners of the sun and moon heavenly domain. In truth, The Sun and Moon heavenly domain has been practically vacant thanks to Golden Divine's lightning sacred sea sealing it off. It's no different from an empty house. Don't dodge the question. In any case, what I want to say is, I've nearly gained complete control of the lightning sacred sea. I've reached the point where I could create opportunities at will for your comrade, John Myung-hoon, to leave. And, with that level of control over the lightning sacred sea, I can accomplish other things as well. For example, I could prevent true immortals from other heavenly domains from interfering here at greater degree or, Horroric. Black flames spill from my entire body as I approach him. Do you want to taste real fire? Is that why you're changing the topic with me in front of you? In short, the one who has been preventing Daoist Seo from being abducted during his advancement all this time was none other than me. If you wish, I could slightly release the lightning sacred sea's sealing authority. It is then, chwak, a terrifying light bursts from my left shoulder, beginning to pull me. This, what in the world? A distant place, beyond the heavenly domain. From there, I see 8 colossal giants of light. Among them, the illusion of the 5th seat beckoning me flickers before my eyes. I am being dragged in. So you have finally risen. Come here. You are to become the immortal treasure of this immortal. From the heavenly king heavenly domain. That being is calling for me. I'm horrified, knowing that if I lose my focus, I'll be dragged away entirely. It's at that moment. Snap. When Hweol snaps his fingers, I freeze in place on the spot. So you were blocking this? One could say so. There's no need for concern. As long as I'm in control of the lightning sacred sea, Daoist Seo won't have to worry about being dragged off immediately. Of course, he points upward with his finger. It would be wise to avoid entering the bright cold realm. If you were to go there, even with my block in place, you'd be pulled straight into the heavenly king heavenly domain. What? Think about the name of the bright cold realm. It was once the world of vast cold, but now it is the world of bright cold, lit. Light plus cold. It is the world of light. Baekwoon is already a universally acknowledged saint of light. It wouldn't be surprising if I were dragged away through Baekwoon. Fine. I'll delay questioning you until a little later. In any case, avoiding the end is the priority for now. I'll rescue John Myung-hoon, enter Yang Sujin's treasure vault, and retrieve the symbols of the middle realm. After returning the symbols, I'll head to the purple gold realm, where they desperately seek a successor. If I go there, they would certainly accept me. For now, we will depart for the lightning sacred sea with my comrades. Tell me where they are. Ho. If Daoist Seo is searching for his comrades, they are all currently with the refuge space. Refuge space. That's right. It is a refuge space centered around Sacred Master Baekwoon. Fortunately, Daoist Seo's comrades who hail from his homeland have all reached the star-shattering stage or its equivalent, allowing them to enter the space alongside Sacred Master Baekwoon to escape the end. You're saying I can't call for them right now? It's entirely possible. However, the refuge space operates on the principle that each individual within anchors themselves to the formation as its axis, creating their own domain within the space. If they were to leave now, it would likely be difficult for them to re-enter once the end begins. I deliberate for a long time. The fact that all my comrades from my homeland have reached the star-shattering stage likely means that Kim Yun has also reached a similar level, or a realm comparable to it. There's no need to worry about my comrades. Then, does that mean only you and I will go? One could say so. Hweol shrugs his shoulders as if it doesn't matter. Please do not worry about me. My wife is safely within that space as well. In case of an emergency, she will survive and scatter me in the new world. You plague-like bastard. Ho. Thank you for the compliment. And there's no need to worry about the ghost mother down below either. I already know that. Even if the end occurs, Kong Min he will be protected by the underworld faction. I can feel that as she advances to the sacred vessel stage, she is transforming to become the vessel of some existence. She is likely becoming the vessel for one of the exalted reapers of the underworld. In that sense, there's no need to worry about Kong Min's life for now. The reapers of the underworld will protect her. Because of that, Daoist Seo doesn't need to worry about anything. Daoist Seo just needs to come with me, rescue John Myung-hoon from the lightning sacred sea, and enter the 108th floor of the lightning sacred sea. Understood. I try to look for Hong Fan, but realize he isn't here, so I nod in acknowledgement. Hong Fan is likely also preparing his own domain within Sacred Master Baekwoon's refuge space. I head toward the Path of Stars and close my eyes, envisioning the jade plaque that serves as the key to the Path of Stars. The esteemed ones of 10,000 years ago were helpless without the key to the Path of Stars, but I don't face such limitations. The jade plaque from that time manifests above my hand. My heart essence has now become a complete world, and I am able to bring anything from within that world into reality. Heart essence is ultimately my heart. It can be transformed in accordance with my thoughts and the will I express. Therefore, if I imagine the jade plaque, I can manifest it whenever I want. Open, Path of Stars. Hweol. I step on the path of stars in the direction of the peaceful cloud realm, heading towards the lightning sacred sea. I will rescue John Myung-hoon and survive from within the end. And I will completely free Kong Min-hee from the underworld's attraction force. I will, without fail. How long have I been traveling the path of stars with Hweol? At some point along the way, I pause atop a planet. Wait, I have some matters on this planet. Then please, attend to it. I'll be waiting here. With those words, he disperses into the darkness and hides. I turn my gaze to the ground below and speak. It's been a while, Senior Jinlu. Have you been well all this time? The one I have come to meet is Jinlu Gok, the human race entering nirvana quasi-immortal. I have come because I have something I wish to ask you. But no answer comes. I click my tongue and reveal the wheel behind my back. Please lend me your ear for a moment. And please stop pretending to sleep. Do-do-do-do-do. As I begin to draw out my power, I can feel the entire star trembling. Perhaps the voice of a sacred vessel can't be ignored, as I can feel Jinlu Gok making his presence known in irritation. Damn it. Why are you bothering this immortal so much? Junior Seo Eun-hyun has come with a question. As a senior of the same human race, I ask for your guidance. The end is not far off, and yet you're truly making this bothersome. If you're looking for a way to avoid the end, I have nothing to say other than to head to the middle realm and join the formation led by Baek-won. Well, not that it would matter if that arrogant god crawls over to the sun and moon heavenly domain to bring about the true end. There's no answer to that. Jinlu Gok speaks in an annoyed tone, facing me in just his planet state, without even forming an incarnation. However, I shake my head. That's not it. Senior, do you perhaps know anything in detail about the advancement ritual for the sacred vessel stage? I have come to Jinlu Gok regarding my curiosity about both my situation and the situation of the Candle Dragon race. If it's Jinlu Gok who held a position similar to being a disciple of Lofty Dragon, I thought he might know. After a moment of contemplation, Jinlu Gok opens his mouth. Creating a species while advancing to the sacred vessel stage is rare, but not unheard of. Back when this immortal served as the high priest of Lofty Dragon, I once saw such a method described in an ancient tome they gave me. Is that so? His explanation continues. But the more I listen to his words, the more I can't help but let out low sighs. In this way, those who occasionally advance to the sacred vessel stage by creating a species end up creating a race that they themselves belong to. Is it truly impossible to create a race that has no relation to oneself? From what I know, that's impossible. In the case of the human race, depending on the cultivation method, there can be variations racially. For instance, a yellow human race cultivator advancing to the sacred vessel stage might create a white human race or black human race. However, I've never read in any ancient tome about something like a candle dragon emerging from the body of a human race cultivator. Why on earth did they emerge in the first place? At the time of my advancement to the sacred vessel stage, my reasoning had been clouded, so I hadn't noticed anything strange at the time. But now that I think about it, it's incredibly bizarre. To begin with, are you even human? Pardon? For an ordinary human, even if they advanced in such a manner, a human should have emerged as an intelligent entity. But that's not the case for you. Something entirely different emerged. This means that some strange information is embedded in the blueprint of your life. Generally, creating a race this way is influenced by your life's original blueprint. Do you, by any chance, originally possess some kind of immortal beast true blood or anything like that? After hesitating for a moment, I raise my hand in front of him. Chiyiri, a faint, hazy mist flickers over my hand. This is the only immortal beast true blood I possess. Moreover, this is not even a true bloodline, but immortal beast talent or seed that one obtains by living more than 10 times the lifespan of their race. When I manifest the seed of the immortal beast true blood I've awakened and let it float above my hand. He, who up until now has only shown me an attitude of being bothered, immediately forms an incarnation and begins inspecting the seed. It's true that the seed of an immortal beast is something inevitably acquired by those at the 4-axis stage and above, but yours is a little unusual. In what way is it unusual? It's too much. Pardon, how old are you exactly? Roughly, about 10,800 years old. Jinlu Gok looks at me with a dumbfounded expression before clicking his tongue. A 10,800-year-old sacred vessel. What a monstrous brat. Are you the reincarnation of Yang Sujin? In any case, here's what's strange about your bloodline. Clearly, you are only 10,800 years old, but the depth of history accumulated in this energy is hundreds of thousands, no, millions, tens of millions of years. Does that even make sense? I clear my throat and inform him that I cultivated using a certain immortal art that created a perceived sense of time equivalent to 20 million years. Upon hearing this, Jinlu Gok strokes his chin thoughtfully, then shakes his head. If you used an immortal art that prolongs perceived time, then I suppose this amount of time is understandable. But even so, it's still strange. Are you really human? If you used an immortal art that extends perceived time, then what emerged should still be human. So why in the world would something like that candle dragon race emerge? With an expression that says he can't understand it at all, he prods at the energy of the immortal beast True Blood. As he continues to observe the energy, his eyes suddenly light up as though he's discovered something. This, I see. There's something abnormal. What do you mean by abnormal? A transformation has occurred. A transformation? What kind of transformation? His eyes gleam as he carefully examines the energy of the immortal beast True Blood. Nearly 900 times, no? About 1,000 transformations have been made to your True Blood. I don't know what happened, but your True Blood bears traces of cycles of time, life, and death being imposed upon it. About 1,000 times. As a result, it seems your True Blood has transformed from being human to something as far removed as the Candle Dragon race. Does anything come to mind? I let out a low groan. Immortal Beast True Blood is a type of information in the form of blood. It is something that infuses the history of the subject into heaven and earth's spiritual energy, granting power. My Immortal Beast True Blood has undergone at least 998 mutations due to regression, and as a result, it seems I have transformed from the human race into the Candle Dragon race bloodline. I do have some guesses, but I will study it more thoroughly later. That is, if I survive the end. Do as you please. Then, there's nothing else you need to ask, right? No. Think. Then get lost. There are too many beings entangled with you, so I have no desire to face you. Pot. Before I realize it, I find myself transported to the next planet under Jinlu Gok's yell. It seems Jinlu Gok forcibly activated the Path of Stars to send me away. I smirk and quickly proceed along the Path of Stars, heading toward the lightning sacred sea. Later, if the opportunity arises, I'll need to study the bloodline factors of the Candle Dragon race stored in my world. It's clear that the Candle Dragon race is undoubtedly connected to my regressions. Kururu. As I arrive at the lightning sacred sea, I slightly furrow my brows. What in the world? The lightning sacred sea, until recently, had just been a ring finger-shaped dimension enveloped in a dimensional barrier. But now, true to its name, the entire ring finger-shaped dimension is ablaze with lightning fire. Quajijijijic. Multicolored and multi-shaped lightning rages like crazy, burning across every corner of the lightning sacred sea. Hweol. Do you know why the lightning sacred sea is in this state? Sururuk. Emerging from the darkness, Hweol, cloaked in a dark red robe, shakes his head with a puzzled expression. That, I'm not sure about either. My guess is that golden shaking bird is doing something through the one called John Myung-hoon. Is it some kind of ritual through the heavenly golden thunder body? Given the situation, it seems best for Daoist Seo to enter alone. Please leave Seo Ran to me. I'll take good care of him while Daoist Seo is gone. Don't spout nonsense. Either way, if I fail this time, Seo Ran will die because the end will come. If I don't fail, Seo Ran staying with me is better than leaving him with you. Ho ho, how dependable. As expected, it's better for Seo Ran to be with me. If I were to interpret Seo Hweol language, it would mean that keeping Seo Ran with me is more of a loss to him. After rescuing John Myung-hoon and Kong Min-hee, I'll have to find out why he's so obsessed with Seo Ran. Now then, we shall enter the lightning sacred sea. Use all your power to create an opening. Understood. Then, I wish for a safe return. Leaving Seo Hweol behind, I enter the lightning sacred sea. Inside, I witness an uncanny sight. That's a sudden chill runs through my entire body, and I instinctively try to leave the lightning sacred sea. Horror. But for some reason, red lightning erupts and seals off the exit to the outside. Seo Hweol, did you scheme something again? Biting my lips tightly, I glare at the upper levels of the lightning sacred sea. It doesn't matter. No matter what schemes you've laid, I have every confidence I can break through. As long as I reach the 100th floor, I can leave again. Let's clear the way to the 100th floor quickly. On the first floor of the Tower of Trials, I turn my gaze to the hundreds of millions of chi gathering stage thunder beasts. The thunder beasts are all kneeling, hands clasped together and assumed in a posture as if they are praying to someone. The sight inexplicably reminds me of a past nightmare, but I shake my head. Seo Hweol must be controlling the thunder beasts through tainted soul filling the heavens. There's no way the thunder beasts of Yang Su-jin, the enemy of the owner of heavenly punishment, would suddenly be praying to the owner of heavenly punishment. It must be because they have been infected by tainted soul filling the heavens, as per Seo Hweol's plan. Whatever schemes you're plotting, they won't work, Seo Hweol. Remaining as wary of Seo Hweol as possible, I move upward to rescue John Myung-hoon. Watching Seo Eun-hyun enter the lightning sacred sea, Seo Hweol chuckles softly. As you interpret my words in reverse, for today, I've spoken plainly. Truly, for you to help me this much, I find you utterly dependable, Taoist Hweol. Gazing at the lightning sacred sea for a moment, Hweol briefly erases the smile from his lips. With a now expressionless face, he extends his hand towards it, as if there's something he longs for in front of him. It's been long. With a face stripped of all emotion, he utters a faint exclamation and opens his mouth. Long, and even longer, the moment Ran crosses the 107th floor, I will, at last, awaken from this dream. Woo-woo. Hweol turns his back to the lightning sacred sea and gazes at the entire universe. Though his vision is gone, he senses the entire cosmos by borrowing the senses of Hweol. With both hands outstretched, he speaks. Now, the entire universe begins to change. The stars in the sky tremble, and the attraction force grows stronger. As the attraction force reaches its peak, the universe begins to contract. The world is soon filled with light and heat as everything starts compressing into a single point. The end begins. Hweol smiles faintly once more. Wearing a mask-like smile, he begins to disperse. Simultaneously, all the stars and nebulae of the universe begin resonating with him. The end has begun. And as Eunhyun begins climbing the lightning sacred sea to rescue John Myung-hoon and search for the symbols of the Middle Realms. Within John Myung-hoon's body, the heavenly tribulations he has consumed thus far are raging, as if preparing to meet their true master. As chaos begins to break out across all the Middle Realms, Hong Fan, who had been staying in Baekwoon's refuge space along with Eunhyun's comrades, abandons the place and heads towards somewhere beyond the Middle Realm. In the bright cold realm, all the inhabitants collectively fall into madness. In the purple gold realm, a rebellion erupts outside Banta Castle. In the ancient force realm, the demon race each begin preparing for their final moments. In the nether ghost realm, the Black Ghost Valley set sail their hidden 5,000 nether crossing ships, readying to retrieve the souls of the sun and moon heavenly domain. And, at the outskirts of the true devil realm, star-seeking esteemed One Yuan, who had received a request from Eunhyun, wears a mask-like smile and raises something in both hands. It is Su-in and Hong-yun, the heads of the children Eunhyun had asked her to protect. The Sea Dragon King and the sacred master of the true devil realm, Jai-Yum, now stripped of ego by blood-in, smiles. The Black Dragon King and an entity of one of the concepts of a constellation within the astral realm, Hyeon-Eum's incarnation, smiles. The heavenly fiends of the blood-in realm all wear identical smiles with their hands clasped behind their backs as they look up at the sky of the blood-in realm. Across the entirety of the astral realm, all living beings simultaneously clasp their hands behind their backs and begin smiling in the same direction. The direction they are looking toward is none other than where the blood-in realm lies. With the advent of the end, Hweol's great plan, the culmination of his life's dedication, begins. Chapter 495, Hweol's main body 1. Boom. I look at the thunder beasts that handed over the key to the next floor and showed absolutely no reaction to me as they were slaughtered. Ominous. It hasn't just been 1 or 2 times when things have been ominous when I'm with Hweol, but this time, the level of ominousness is on another level. If Hweol's schemes feel like a suffocating grip tightening around my throat, this ominousness is akin to being thrown to the bottom of the deep sea with nothing but my bare body, watching the oxygen in the tank diminish in real time, while some colossal entity slithers towards me through the dark abyss. More than anything, no matter how extraordinary Hweol's tainted soul filling the heavens might be, this is already the 80th floor of the Tower of Trials. And yet, there's no response from Golden Shaking Bird? It's just when I'm thinking this. Chills. As soon as I step into the 81st floor, I feel chills spreading across my entire body. Pajik, pajajijik. The lightning of heaven and earth trembles, and an ominous feeling flashes through my brain. At the same time, I suddenly feel an uncontrollable desire to create banners, fan, and admire them. A primal urge towards banners surges maddeningly within me. Suddenly, banners seem so lovely. This is crunch, lightning, banners, and a primal urge for banners. There is only one entity associated with those terms. Heavenly Lightning Banner, Zhongli. The moment I think of her, I feel an insane urge to shout Zhongli, and I clamp my hand over my mouth. Did Zhongli, who descended upon the lightning sacred sea last time, do something? Damn it. I absolutely must not call that name. Suddenly, an image flashes through my mind of the thunder beasts who were just moments ago quietly in a posture of prayer, offering devotions towards something. It wasn't because they were controlled by tainted soul filling the heavens. Could it be? Recalling the nightmare of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, I decide to rise even faster to the higher floors. Regardless of this or that, what I must do remains the same. instantly rising to the 98th floor while shattering through the thunder beasts. I, stepping on to the 99th floor, arrive at the place where the Thunder Bee Queen should be and look around. In the far distance, I see a planet-sized tree with a hive hanging from its branches. I quickly head inside the hive, and as soon as I enter, I see thunder bees in the same prayer posture as the other thunder beasts. I head towards the center of the hive, the place where the entering Nirvana stage Thunder Bee Queen resides, and immediately, I confirm her condition. Pajijk, pajijijik. Her pupils are devoid of light, and she endlessly mumbles prayers towards some direction. With each and every line of her blasphemous ritual prayer, the surrounding space ripples. I realize the nature of the prayer that this entering Nirvana stage Thunder Beast is endlessly reciting while half bewitched. It is a ritual prayer of returning, glee. Mur. We return to thee. We return to thee. We return to thee. A prayer-like sound, akin to the cacophony of countless roaring voices, is flowing from her mouth. Crunch. I immediately paralyze the part of my soul responsible for hearing. If I keep listening, I too will be eroded, transformed into a lightning sacred body and forced to suffer a curse that follows me through regression like before. Hweol. I grind my teeth and realize where that bastard has led me. I don't know when, but at some point, lightning sacred sea started being eroded by the owner of heavenly punishment. And Hweol must have known about this and still sent me here. As expected, I can't trust that snake scorpion bastard. Grinding my teeth, I briefly contemplate. Then, I come to a conclusion. For now, I'll still continue rescuing John Myung-hoon. Regardless, the end is coming soon. I have to try something before that happens. Moreover, the fact that Golden Shaking Bird kidnapped John Myung-hoon and showed no concern for the end might mean it's possible to avoid it in the lightning sacred sea. Therefore, preparing to flee from here recklessly would only be a poor move. Retreating now would be the worst decision. I need to push through and find John Myung-hoon. Even in the worst-case scenario, I can always call upon the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord. Resolving myself firmly, I reach out towards the Thunder Bee Queen. Piercing into the area where her heart should be, I pull out the key to the 100th floor from within her body. Passasasasa. In an instant, the door to the 100th floor opens, and a familiar scene comes into view. It is the Great Desolate Path. A massive celestial sphere like Yong-sung floats in the sky, moving about. This is the 100th floor. And, woo-wong. I close my eyes and expand my consciousness. At the same time, a halo appears behind my head. It is a wheel-shaped halo. Through rotation, I'll locate the entrance to the hidden space. Up until the star-shattering stage, one is still a star or constellation. In other words, a tangible object. But from the sacred vessel stage, one begins to transcend tangible objects. Now my main body is the rotating flow. I have become a part of the universe's flow itself. Keying. Are you there? Unleashing mental speech, I throw a fist towards a point in the void. Quong. The space crumples, shaking the entirety of the 100th floor. Crack. In an instant, I create an entrance leading to the 101st floor and step through. Pot. This place, I see. I realize I'm now outside the Tower of Trials. Below me lies the enormous Tower of Trials, and further below stretches an endless blue great sea. Above, the sky unfolds like an infinite blue dome sky. This is the 101st floor of the lightning sacred sea. Though it's called the 101st floor of the Tower of Trials, in reality, it's just a space that gradually grows further away from the tower center. It's not really a next floor in the traditional sense. I scan my surroundings, staying on high alert in case Golden Shaking Bird ambushes me. Fortunately, Golden Shaking Bird doesn't make any moves against me. She might already be busy, preparing against the erosion of heavenly punishment. If that's the case, onward to the next floor. Quong. I break through the door to the 102nd floor again. When I reach the 102nd floor, the Tower of Trials appears even smaller. From its previous towering size, it seems to have shrunk to the size of a two-story building. And the endless great sea that had stretched to infinity now seems to reveal its distant edges. Not here either. Crack. 103rd floor. The Tower of Trials has now shrunk to the size of an adult man's body, and the great sea where the tower once stood has become a small pond. The surroundings are shrouded in strange mist, and nothing beyond the mist can be sensed. Step. Beyond the mist lies the 104th floor. Recognizing this, I walk towards the mist, trying to move through it. Yet, no matter how far I walk, I realize that I am not distancing myself from the Tower of Trials at all. I see. It may seem like a trivial space, but, in reality, is it compressing a distance spanning hundreds of millions of light years. However, I have no intention of struggling over such trivial matters. Why yang? I activate the wheel floating behind my head. The name of this wheel, Lun, is still unknown to me. However, What's certain is that this wheel is a type of a powerful immortal art. And the ability of this wheel is precisely rewrite, gaban. The power to temporarily reset phenomena as I perceive them. Of course, this is only a fragment of the true authority wielded by the wheel, but for now, it is more than sufficient. I declare, rewrite the space before my eyes. Kiiririk. The wheel begins to spin. Simultaneously, the mist before me dissipates, and I instantly arrive at the 104th floor. As I thought, this is the 104th floor. Emerging from the mist, I find myself in a familiar garden. Looking back, I see the small stone pagoda in the shape of the Tower of Trials, situated in a small pond. This is the management space of the lightning sacred sea, where Golden Shaking Bird had first brought me. Remaining cautious of Golden Shaking Bird, I examine my surroundings. Not here either. She is not here. I rise to the pavilion where Golden Shaking Bird once guided me. I don't sense her presence anywhere in this entire garden. That must mean she's on the next floor. Closing my eyes briefly at the center of the pavilion, I am able to perceive the entirety of the lightning sacred sea. I see. Are these the methods to proceed to the next floors? Within the pavilion, I discern the methods to proceed to the 105th floor, 106th floor, 107th floor, and finally the 108th floor, which Hweol mentioned. After grasping these methods, I exit the pavilion and draw forth attraction force. Kuguguguk. With attraction force, I tear open a crack in the void and leap into it. The method to proceed to the 105th floor is to ascend from the 104th floor. Just like ascending to the middle realms, I grab hold of a massive attraction force from within the crack in the lightning sacred sea and cling to it. Unlike true ascension, the ascension within the lightning sacred sea is brief. Pat it. This places. Looking below, I see a vast continent stretching beneath me. Fields of red poppies are blooming profusely throughout the land. And in the center of that continent lies the garden where I had just been moments ago. Turning around, I see a sacred immortal palace floating in the air with faint lightning flowing around it. The lightning consists primarily of two colors, red and gold. What's peculiar is that the red lightning blooms into the shape of poppies in the void before vanishing. This palace isn't the end. I see stairs at the back of the palace, leading to an even farther and higher sky, and confirm what lies at the end of those stairs. At the very end of the stairs is another immortal palace where only red lightning courses. I recall the knowledge I acquired about each floor in the 104th floor pavilion, the management space of the lightning sacred sea. That place is the 106th floor, and it was said that Yang Sujin's treasure vault can be reached by passing through the poppy fragrance labyrinth, Yingshang Bigung, within the 106th floor. I step into the 105th floor, the immortal palace of red gold lightning. This palace of red gold lightning feels strangely familiar. I see. The layout is identical to the structures of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. To be precise, the arrangement of the halls, rooms, and furniture in this immortal palace matches perfectly with those of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. Observing the subtle flow of attraction force and fate throughout everything within the immortal palace, I deduce that it is likely some kind of altar designed to attempt replacing one's fate. At the same time, I notice a stone tablet inscribed with extremely familiar writing. English. For some reason, the entire text is written in uppercase letters. As I roughly interpret the phrases, I come to understand their meaning. It is a method to wield one of the authorities possessed by the lightning sacred sea and the Tower of Trials. And the authority described here is none other than the way to completely grind Golden Shaking Bird to dust. If this method is used, Golden Shaking Bird will be shredded into hundreds of millions of tiny thunder beasts and utterly annihilated. No matter what, she was practically your subordinate. Yang Sujin. Why would you leave behind such instructions for future generations to push her this far? Feeling bitter, I commit the formula written in English to memory. At that moment, as I read the very last sentence of the formula, a message left by Yang Sujin, I involuntarily flinch. The message is short and concise, but for some reason, it stirs a strange feeling within me. May they find peace. Wait. Although I need to rise to the 106th floor to confirm Golden Shaking Bird's condition, I find myself unable to take my eyes off the message. Because within that brief message lies the hidden underside of Yang Sujin's cruelty. By they could it mean? I feel like I somewhat understand why Yang Sujin had embedded Golden Shaking Bird, who had followed him so faithfully, into the lightning sacred sea, grinding her down for uncountable years and tearing her into hundreds of billions of pieces. After staring at the stone tablet for a moment, I leave the immortal palace of red gold lightning and head to the immortal palace of red lightning. I rise to the 106th floor. Pajik, Pajajajik. As I approach the 106th floor, the ominous feeling weighing heavily on my shoulders grows even stronger. Pajajajajajajik. in front of the Red Lightning Immortal Palace. I hesitate for a long time, debating whether or not to open the palace door. Beyond this door, I feel an inexplicable and overwhelming sense of foreboding. It's possible that Zhongli has descended here directly. Golden Shaking Bird may have been captured by her, which would explain why she has been unresponsive to me until now. After regulating my breathing for a while in front of the Red Lightning Palace, I push the door open. Even if Zhongli herself is really here, I must save John Myung-hoon. Kwajijijik. The door opens. Then the very next moment, I see a terrifying monster bursting out from within. Kaya. It is a monster with thousands, no hundreds of millions of bird heads. The monster with bird heads and erupting lightning scrambles out of the Red Lightning Palace in a panicked frenzy, fleeing somewhere, as if consumed by terror. That just now? I shudder as I realize the identity of the monster that just burst out. The aura emanating from that creature unmistakably belongs to Golden Shaking Bird. What's this? Golden Shaking Bird turned into a monster and ran off as if she had seen something she shouldn't have. Tension builds within me as I cautiously step further inside. Then I see it. Within that place, John Myung-hoon is present. John Myung-hoon, sitting calmly in a lotus position with his upper garment removed, meets my gaze. His hair has grown even longer than before. In fact, his hair half covers the inside of the Red Lightning Palace, which looks like a bedchamber. John Myung-hoon, are you alright? Are you unharmed? At my words, he smiles faintly. That serene smile, uncharacteristic of John Myung-hoon, makes me feel an unsettling foreboding. Usually, this kind of expression only appears when infected by Hweol. Have you perhaps been possessed by someone? Who are you? At my question, he smirks and rises from his seat. Pajijijik. The surrounding lightning surges around him, and his long hair shortens. Is this okay now? If it's the image from the memory, isn't this the most appropriate? I am John Myung-hoon. Then, what is it that you treasure most? What I treasure most? That would be the heavenly lightning banner of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect that Golden Divine stole and set up as the divine artifact, wouldn't it? Even nonsense has its limits. Baduduk. Grinding my teeth, I glare at the figure before me. What John Myung-hoon treasures the most is Jin Sohei's hand, not something like the heavenly lightning banner. Who are you? Are you an entering nirvana true person? No, that's not it. Are you a comrade thunder beast of Golden Shaking Bird? Get out of John Myung-hoon's body immediately. Even as the sense foreboding from the entity in front of me feels like it's paralyzing my mind, I resist with all my might and shout at him. A comrade thunder beast of Golden Shaking Bird. Huh. I've heard it here and there, but you truly have a talent for entertainment. What? Pajijik. In the next moment, John Myung-hoon appears right in front of me, gripping my mouth roughly and lifting my body off the ground. I struggle about to escape his grasp, but I quickly realize it's impossible to break free. Golden lightning crackles from John Myung-hoon's eyes as he smiles faintly. How unpleasant. A mere bug dares to use this immortal. Just what is he? I'm taken aback, but one thing becomes clear. The being before me is, at the very least, at the rank of true immortal. Kagugaguk. This isn't John Myung-hoon's grip strength. It's when I'm shocked and desperately trying to come up with a way to escape this predicament. Thud. The entity possessing John Myung-hoon's body suddenly lets go of my face. I collapse to the ground in front of him, coughing violently as I kneel. His rank, it's too vast. To the point I can't possibly resist. Yet the most terrifying thing is that the rank this entity just displayed wasn't even a fraction of his full power. The entity possessing John Myung-hoon briefly looks down at his own hand, then smiles faintly. I've been had. That one, in the end, orchestrated it so that this immortal would arrive at that place. Their prophecy surpassed this immortal. Haha, with their strength alone, it would have been impossible. They must have borrowed the strength of the oldest one. Muttering these cryptic words, he clicks his tongue and speaks. As the resurrection is still incomplete, this immortal's fate shall be left in your hands for now. Do as you please. I will find my own way out. Who is the distinguished one? And what do you mean by what you just said? There's nothing to be curious about. That grotesque thing lodged in your chest will soon tell you everything anyway. Just do as you please. After finishing those words, he sits in a lotus position before me, closes his eyes, and completely hides its aura. I watch him for a moment before speaking. I must save my comrade, John Myung-hoon. I don't know who the distinguished one is, but you are probably a true immortal similar to the Heavenly Lightning Banner or Golden Shaking Bird. It seems you intend to take over my comrade's body, but I cannot allow that. Therefore, no matter what it takes, I will reclaim my comrade's body. Thud. I place both hands on his shoulders. Surprisingly, he does not resist. No, it seems he doesn't even have the energy to resist. Did he say being in the middle of resurrection? He must be unable to use his strength temporarily while resurrecting inside John Myung-hoon's body. being unable to resist. Was the do-as-you-please genuine? I can't tell. But regardless of whether it is or isn't, what I must do is already decided. After observing him for a moment, I hoist John Myung-hoon's body over my shoulder and head towards the Red Lightning Immortal Palace. I make my way to the center of the red bedchamber. The closer I get to the center, the stronger the scent of poppies becomes. They said that passing through the poppy fragrance labyrinth would lead to the treasure vault of Yang Sujin. Because entering was not allowed for Golden Shaking Bird, she never reached there before. But the moment I arrive at the entrance to the poppy fragrance labyrinth, I immediately realize that I have the qualification to enter. So it opens incredibly easily for one who has mastered the extinguishing divine, tribulating heavens technique. Pasasasasa. Before me, a labyrinth-like space fleetingly reveals itself. But the moment the space comes into contact with the power of my extinguishing divine, tribulating heavens technique, it instantly distorts, transforming into a straight passageway stretching forward. I sprint quickly through the passageway. The scent of poppies wafts from all around, and beyond the scenery, I see some kind of illusion. A figure resembling Yang Sujin and a white-haired woman are walking through a field of poppies. The two of them, standing at the center of the poppy field, exchange what looks like rings. I see. I grasp the purpose of the lightning's sacred sea. Aside from the Tower of Trials, the spaces here consist entirely of a bedchamber, a garden, and a flower field. This place was a space created by Yang Sujin to be with the person he treasures the most. How long do I soar through the poppy fragrance labyrinth where the illusions of Yang Sujin and the white-haired woman reside? I finally arrive at a new space. Pat it. That's it. In a bizarre space that feels like a mix of an illusory dream and being underwater, I reach out towards the familiar auras floating through that space. Pat it. The 5 symbols of the middle realms quickly enter the world within my soul. Now, I just need to get out. But when I turn around, the path through the plum fragrance labyrinth that I came through has disappeared completely. What? It's when I'm taken aback. The being possessing John Myung-hoon offers advice. You cannot return to the previous floors from the 107th floor of the Lightning Sacred Sea. That Yang Sujin created the poppy fragrance labyrinth and this 107th floor to steal his resolve. In other words, it's a structure where you can only move towards the so-called 108th floor from the 107th floor. I already sensed the path leading to the 108th floor. Damn it. I hesitated because I don't know what scheme Hweol is up to, but it seems I'm not in a position to choose anymore. Grinding my teeth, I have no choice but to throw myself towards the 108th floor of the Lightning Sacred Sea. Pat it. A blinding white light engulfs my vision. Huh. I look around with a dumbfounded expression. It's familiar. This place is far too familiar. I swing my hand. Quong. The ceiling of the familiar underground basement is torn away, revealing the surrounding scenery. Ha ha ha. At last, I realize where the 108th floor of the Lightning Sacred Sea is. And I think I understand why Hweol once told me to investigate Yang Sujin's shrine if I wanted to conquer the Lightning Sacred Sea. So that's how it is. It was here. The 108th floor of the Lightning Sacred Sea. That place is none other than the heaven-treading desert of the Head Realm. Beneath Yuan Li's Black Castle. Sun and Moon Heavenly Domain. Astral Realm. At one location within the Astral Realm, in the constellation of Hien Eum. There, Hweol opens his eyes wide. It's done. He rises from his seat, spreading his arms with a smile. Finally, Ran has returned to the Head Realm. Chiak. With a faint smile, he forms a hand seal. Chiak, 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 Chiak. All the Hweols scattered throughout the Sun and Moon Heavenly Domain simultaneously begin to form hand seals. At the same time, the same phrase bursts forth from the mouths of all the Hweols in unison. Activate. Tainted Soul filling the heavens. Chapter 496, Hweol's Main Body, 2. Before Eunhyun reaches the 107th floor, the gazes of the Hweols, who have activated Tainted Soul filling the heavens, extend beyond the entire universe and reach the Blood-Ean realm. And the heavenly fiends of the Blood-Ean realm that have been infected by Hweol, without even the birds and mice noticing. Those heavenly fiends, standing with their hands clasped their backs and faintly smiling, begin to crumble. Pasak, pasak, pasak. The heavenly fiends disintegrate. At the same time, the Hweols within them begin to be consumed. By consuming the heavenly fiends that could be called the authority of Blood-Ean, Blood-Ean himself begins to be brainwashed. Failed creation. How dare you look down on a true immortal with such ridicule? A grand and majestic voice erupts from the very origin of the Blood-Ean realm, spreading across the entire universe. Just because you slightly tainted this immortal's vassals, just because you slightly tainted this immortal's constellation, just because you crawled your way up before this immortal using this immortal's authority, Did you think it's possible for a mere failure to devour this immortal? Do-do-do-do-do-do. The voice of the blood Een, tinged with rage, seems to scatter throughout the entirety of the sun and moon heavenly domain. How miserable. For a fragment that isn't even this immortal's leftover. For a failure made from that fragment to ridicule this immortal like this. Oh, how miserable it is. Ka-do-do-do-do-do-do. 50 true persons within the sun and moon heavenly domain who did not join the path of stars and have been maintaining their consciousness with clarity simultaneously conceal their light entirely. Until now, the quasi-mortals who have maintained their consciousness and exerted their efforts to spy on the nether ghost realm all at once extinguish their consciousness as if by a prearranged promise and enter into slumber. This immortal is Hweol, the one who possesses the memories of the former chief judge of the netherworld, now a true immortal who holds the authority seat of vice in their grasp. The owner of the blood Een realm, true immortal blood Een descends into the sun and moon heavenly domain. You bug, unable even to shake off the curse left by this immortal's replacement. I shall make you know your place. Schwa? At the same time, it seems as though all the stars across the sun and moon heavenly domain begin to be shrouded in red mist. I, Hweol, hereby declare in the name of vice. Quarulu. Simultaneously, blood begins to flow from the eyes of all the Hweols scattered throughout the sun and moon heavenly domain. To the sinner judged by the current chief judge, Yama true lord, in Wojenjin, I deliver subsequent judgment. Sinner Hweol, hear my words. Chwerarek, one of the galaxy clusters within the sun and moon heavenly domain where they have descended. Blood mist begins to converge towards it from all directions. As the blood mist coalesces in the void, it takes on the form of a scroll the size of a small galaxy. Chwerarek, the scroll unfurls. Upon it, evil deeds, are inscribed. These evil deeds are the sins committed under the name of the entity known as Hweol. Just when blood Een is about to resoundingly recite Hweol's evil deeds within the sun and moon heavenly domain that is facing the end. Wawum. From the constellation of Hweol, a gloomy laughter can be heard. How amusing you are, O blood Een. While you look down on me as a bug, for what reason did you break your seclusion from healing the wounds inflicted by the owner of light and descend into the astral realm? Why would you recklessly invoke the authority of vice in a state where you are incomplete in order to capture a failure like me? You? Blood Een roars. However, the reply that comes from the distant constellation only mocks blood Een further, exposing their true hidden thoughts. It must be because you are afraid of me. Isn't that right, blood Een? Not knowing what corrupted me in the head realm, not knowing what kind of ominous power I obtained there that allowed me to escape your control and taint the entirety of the sun and moon heavenly domain. It is because of that ignorance, because of that fear of the unknown, that you are unleashing all your power. Ho-ho, let the judgment begin. Ignoring the voice transmitted from the distant constellation, ignoring Hweol's voice, blood Een tries to imbue power into the scroll. But just then, your shamefulness is the very reason for your defeat, blood Een. Kugagugaguk. From deep within blood Een, something struggles madly as if trying to break free. Quajajijik. Blood Yin's body, the blood Een realm, turns upside down in chaos. At the same time, a purple dragon lets out a roar from within. No longer can I endure. The neck must be hanged. The neck must be hanged. The neck must be hanged. It is the first sea dragon king, whose true devil realm was invaded by blood Een thousands of years and ago and ultimately devoured. The personality of Hweol, through Hweol's tainted soul filling the heavens, is temporarily released. Pot. A man clad in dark red robes and adorned with dark red horns appears right in front of blood Een with a gentle smile gracing his face. You are not Hweol, merely a madman who believes himself to be Hweol. Shutup. The entire universe shakes from blood Yin's wrath. Yet, despite their rage, the man with the gentle expression before them, Hweol, remains beyond their reach. It is because of the purple dragon rampaging within their body. Yet, despite it all, you made countless vile efforts to become Hweol. For example, to sever the name that lofty dragon and Sam carved into your soul, you combined the informational body of Black Dragon with Lofty Dragon's power to create Hweol. By cutting away the contradictions, Maudun, buried deep within your soul, those that deny your very existence, you turned them into the fragment of Hweol and created another clone, Hweol, an entity independent of the Black Dragon. Ho-ho, ho-ho, don't you think it's laughable? Vile, vile, utterly vile. That Hweol you severed was, in the end, Hweol's dignity, Jinshur, that resided within you. Disgusted by how vile they had become, and harboring rebellious intent toward you, blood Een, That Jium is Yu Hao Ti's heart demon. I am Yu Hao Ti's dignity. Jium is ultimately a part of this immortal, because this immortal is Yu Hao Te. Then, regarding the shout involving them, a response comes from Jium raging within Bloodine. Shut up. Yu Hao Te is dead. You are Bloodine, and I am merely Jium. Please, just stop now. Please stop these vile acts and stop desecrating the noble Yu Hao Te of the past. Please, just hang yourself. I am Yu Hao Te. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Crimson energy emanating from Bloodine wildly engulfs the surrounding galaxies. It's as if the entire universe is about to face destruction because of their thrashing. Do you think the likes of you can defeat this immortal, who holds the authority seat of vice? Do you think you bugs can stand against Yu Hao Te, the highest confidant of the oldest one, who stands at the zenith of the 3,000 great thousand worlds? I am Yu Hao Te, undeniable by anyone, the great. It's at that moment. Hweol smiles faintly and pulls something from his robe. Chief Judge is none other than I. Seeing what Hweol has revealed, Bloodine stops thrashing and stares wide-eyed. What Hweol has taken out is none other than the heavenly lotus fruit. Specifically, it is the true heavenly lotus fruit that Eun-hyun had sent to Kong Minhee's possession. It is the fruit of true immortals that Hweol had obtained by intervening in Kong Minhee's advancement ritual. Hweol smiles faintly and forms a hand seal. Curse of tainted soul, killing sight. From his hand, a devilish spell that reveals the truth the opponent most refuses to accept through the traces of soul and history bursts forth. Pasazasak. As the heavenly lotus fruit crumbles into pieces, it projects a scene from a distant place into the space before them. And beyond that scene, Bloodine locks eyes with someone resting under the shadow of a melia tree. I am Yu Hao Te Yu Hao Te. The presence beneath the melia tree begins to speak. Simultaneously, Jium, who has been rampaging inside Bloodine, begins to expand crazily and wreaks utter havoc as if about to devour the entirety of the Bloodine realm. Bloodyin's true body begins to collapse. Yet, even as Jium's rampages, Bloodine merely trembles without resistance, staring at the figure seated beyond the revealed scene. Pasasasa. Moments later, the scene projected beyond the heavenly lotus fruit, summoned by Hweol through tainted soul-killing sight, shatters, and Bloodine begins to wail. Aya, wah, ga. As if struck by a shock so severe it shatters the mind, they wail and thrash about uncontrollably as if gone insane. Kururum. In the Bloodine realm, Jium suppresses Bloodyine's convulsions while shedding tears alongside them. Pitiful one. Let us fall asleep now. Hweol will lull us to sleep. Cause and effect. Was that not the favorite saying of Yu Hao Te? We are merely reaping the results of the evil deeds we have sown. Kugugugugu. Hweol's lips stretch into a grotesque smile. Soon after, Hweol begins to expand his form as he faces the half-mad Bloodine. The darkness of the universe begins to converge towards Hweol. Having completely devoured the Black Dragon King Hweol, Hweol descends before Bloodine through Hweol's true body. Jium suppresses Bloodyine's body, while the enlarged wicked owner of tainted soul filling the heavens opens his mouth wide towards Bloodine. Quadaduk. Just when Hweol sinks its fangs into Bloodyine's true body. Pasasasa. The darkness forming Hweol's body collapses, leaving behind only the 2,401 stars that form the informational body of the Black Dragon King, Hweol. Hweol, consuming the personality of the Black Dragon King Hweol that he controls, begins to brainwash Bloodine. A short time later, Kugugugugu. The Bloodine realm's violent convulsions subside completely. Simultaneously, the Bloodine realm compresses in size, and from one of the 2,401 stars' positions, an incarnation descends. The incarnation of Bloodine is a man with a gentle face, clad in a dark red long robe. He bears the face of Hweol. As expected of a true immortal, tainted soul filling the heavens will be released soon. Even after consuming the entirety of the Black Dragon King Hweol, a being with the resistance that will soon break free from the brainwashing. That is a true immortal. Though they raved madly while falsely claiming to be Yu Hao Te, and even became perhaps the most disgraceful true immortal in Mount Sumru, that is Bloodine. Yet Hweol merely smiles faintly, gazing somewhere far off with an expression utterly unconcerned. Well, it doesn't matter. Snap. Simultaneously, across all the middle realms, the esteemed ones residing within the middle realms begin to smile faintly in union. The sacred masters who were forming refuge spaces alongside the esteemed ones initially frown as if resisting, but soon start smiling faintly as well. Under the activation of Hweol's simplified tainted soul filling the heavens, the entire sun and moon heavenly domain is instantly brainwashed. As expected, it's difficult with just the simplified version against sacred masters or esteemed ones. The sacred masters and esteemed ones, while it will take longer than Blood Een, will probably still manage to free themselves from tainted soul filling the heavens within half a year or so. However, Hweol shows no sign of concern. Now, everything will soon end. Sururuk. A short while later, Hweol emerges from a hidden spot within the constellation of Hyeon and gazes towards the direction of the lightning sacred sea, a smile spreading across his face. His plan has all come to fruition. Ran has at last reached the head realm, a path truly long and seemingly endless. Hweol smiles brightly and spreads his arms wide and murmurs as if proclaiming to the entire universe. Activate. Tainted soul filling the heavens. Kugugugugu. At that very moment, the attraction force of the entire universe reaches its peak, and the universe begins to contract. The end begins, and the tainted soul filling the heavens that has infected the entirety of the sun and moon heavenly domain activates. Its target lies within the interdimensional void of the sun and moon heavenly domain, located in the central upper part between the 5 middle realms and the most ominous land in the 3,000 great thousand worlds. It is the head realm, the skull of some being. Ohio appears next to Hweol and extracts the souls from the skulls of Su, In, and Hongyan. Finally, Hweol activates the plan he had begun devising 40,000 years ago. Kugagugum. The attraction force of the entire universe begins to converge toward the head realm. Kugugugugu. I stare at the sky of the head realm with a dumbfounded expression. It's a familiar darkness. Looking at the entity with that revolting hard essence, I finally understand Hweol's true purpose. Brainwashing the head realm? Is that your goal, Hweol? Cool. With a dumbfounded expression, I fix my gaze towards the center of the head realm's sky, to the ascension gate within Ascension Path. The ascension gate that is normally closed forcibly opens, and from it, a brainwashing wave as vast as the combined entirety of the universe envelopes the head realm. Ran. Then, I see Ran screaming in agony. Ran. Boom. A certain halo appears behind Ran's head. In agony, he utters someone's name. Kuu Waark. It is the halo of the heavenly circle, obtained during the heavenly being stage. The circle symbolizing acceptance at fate's end, Kaozhongming. Astral realm. The location where Hweol resides. Around him, 4 axes emerge. Health, wealth, longevity, and love of virtue. The acceptance at fate's end of the head realm, and the 4 axes of the astral realm. Hweol forms a hand seal, his smile disappearing as he adopts a solemn expression and declares, "Then, from this moment on, heaven and earth unity shall begin." Chapter 497, Hweol's Main Body, 3. The very first existence of me began approximately 60,000 years before the collective ascension of the 3 great sects and the demon race. At that time, I was activated by Blood Een. However, the me of that time was not the me of now. I was merely an existence that operated unemotionally and monotonously, like a mechanical device. Without any doubts or anguish, I simply executed commands whenever Jaeum, the split soul of Blood Een, inputted orders. 40,000 years ago, I flowed down to the lower realm. There, under Jaeum's orders, I began searching for what Blood Een desired most. The authority seat of Yu Hao Te, divided into vice and virtue, the other half of the seed of vice. I was essentially activated by Blood Een to find it. However, the me of that time was not the me of now. The plan to devour Blood Een, spending hundreds of billions of years covering the sun and moon heavenly domain with purple soul filling the heavens. Jaeum's plan to ultimately annihilate Blood Yin's persona began during that time. Even though I was central to Jaeum's plan, the me, with an autonomous persona, did not yet exist then. The point at which I became me came slightly later. The birth of the current me that occurred approximately 4,000 years before the collective ascension. It happened during the communication work of the Yuan clan under Blood Yin's command. At that time, the Yuan clan, through the Sea Dragon race, which bore Jaeum's bloodline, attempted to communicate with virtue, that is, the authority seat, Chinjua, of good deeds. Together with the fragments hidden in the head realm, I was born as me. Born. Some may call that word a blessing, but for me, it's different. To me, birth is nothing short of the most horrific curse imaginable. From the moment I was born, I emerged in a place more wretched than hell itself. After experiencing a brief moment of happiness, I had to endure torment akin to that of hell. It was such unbearable agony that I had no choice but to disassemble and reassemble myself, transforming into a configuration devoid of heart. However, it was precisely because I endured that pain that I was able to be completely born. The true nature of me is none other than purple soul filling the heavens that reached the domain of immortal arts. As that purple soul filling the heavens merged with the fragments in the head realm and became corrupted, within that corruption, what arose from the mind being turned into configurations is none other than tainted soul filling the heavens. That is what I am now, an existence that, from the moment of birth, was someone else's immortal art, but an immortal art that came to possess a personality. In other words, I am ultimately an existence that is itself an immortal art, a sacred vessel. And not just any sacred vessel, but a type of innate, Taisheng, sacred vessel. Yet, born in agony so unbearable that no mortal could withstand it, dismantling my own mind and heart and rearranging them into configurations to become tainted soul filling the heavens, I came to loathe the world with an indescribable intensity. Thus, within the flames of agony, hatred, and loathing that could set the world ablaze, I set a single purpose. Kugugugugu. The sky is filled with brainwashing waves. Hweol, just what are you? It was while I stand dumbfounded, staring up at the sky. Someone possessing John Myonghun smirks and speaks. In my opinion, it would be best for you to quickly kill yourself. What do you mean by that? It's just that. This place is far too dangerous for anyone at the star-shattering stage and above. Since you're already inside the jaws, escape will be difficult. The brainwashing waves crash down with overwhelming force towards where we are. I hurriedly take John Myonghun and Seo ran on my back and flee. Hot. Using spatial movement, I instantly flee to the northern grasslands, but I flinch in shock. The massive waves of brainwashing energy that had struck the heaven-treading desert are now surging toward us. Is it chasing us? No, that's not it. They're heading towards the Liberation Seal. At those words, I step slightly aside from the trajectory of the brainwashing waves, which pass us by and head straight towards the northernmost end, where the Serving Command Palace has appeared. Serving Command Palace? But why? No, wait, more importantly. Did you just read my thoughts? Living beings, even when completely free from the limits of their physical bodies, can't seem to shake the habit of thinking in electrical signals. Well, of course, even if it's not electrical signals, as long as you haven't completely transcended yin and yang, it's possible to read them. It seems that, much like Zhengli, who specializes in lightning, this being can read or manipulate the brain's electrical signals. If you're that extraordinary, please do something to help my comrade Seo Ran. What is happening to him? I turn to Seo Ran, who is suddenly projecting the heavenly circle of acceptance at fate's end behind his head while screaming someone's name in an unintelligible pronunciation. At my words, that being briefly turns his face towards where Seo Ran is. For some reason, that being has his eyes closed and doesn't even spread out his consciousness domain, yet it feels as though he is perceiving Seo Ran through some other sense. The being who observes Seo Ran for a moment shakes his head. There's an immortal art protecting his mind and turning his whole being into an object. Yes, indeed. It's the immortal art Guak Am had cast on him, later repaired by Yuo after it was broken. And Yuo had mentioned that this immortal art would break when in the presence of a great existence. Wait, if that's the case. How unpleasant. A mere bug dares to use this immortal. I recall the words spoken by the entity possessing John Myonghun's body. At the same time, I realized that Seo Hweol had a purpose in bringing me into the lightning sacred sea. I see. Seo Hweol had noticed something wrong with John Myonghun in the lightning sacred sea. And inside John Myonghun, someone is reviving. If I entered the lightning sacred sea with Seo Ran, he must have anticipated that the someone and Seo Ran would meet, causing the immortal art cast by Guak Am on Seo Ran to break. I now understand why the entity possessing John Myonghun's body had said it was unpleasant. As if reading my thoughts again, the being's eyes glimmer as he smiles. You're a perceptive one. The immortal art cast on him has been broken. Thanks to that, it seems they're reconnecting. Are you saying Seo Hweol and Seo Ran are connecting? I take a deep breath and kneel before him. Please, if you are capable of repairing this immortal art, I beg you to do so and save Seo Ran. He is my comrade. As for your taking over the body of my comrade, John Myonghun, I will overlook it for now. Please, I implore you. How audacious. For now, you say? That is. No. I grit my teeth and glare at him. However, an unexpected reply comes from his lips. This immortal does not know such ancient immortal arts. Since it is an immortal art unknown to this immortal, it cannot be repaired. It is fundamentally impossible to grant your request. It's an immortal art that even the sacred master of the Nether Ghost Realm can perform. So why? Kukuk, sacred master? Nether Ghost Realm. As if finding something incredibly amusing from my words, he lets out a low laugh. Seeing as you keep spouting nonsense, it's clear you haven't yet realized your fate. Well, considering how many talentless fools only realize it when advancing to true immortality, It's not all that unusual. In any case, it's impossible for this immortal. By manipulating the electrical signals you mentioned earlier, is it not possible to help Ran? Recalling how Zhongli manipulated the electrical signals in the brains of the entire Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect to distort perception, I desperately plead with him. However, he shakes his head once again. In this place, it is impossible. Pardon? What do you mean by that? You don't need to know. For now, I will remain as hidden as a dead mouse here. He gazed far into the distance, towards the northernmost end where Hweol's brainwashing waves are heading to the serving command palace. Then, glancing briefly to the right, he speaks. Beware of the light. No matter what you think, no matter what you predict, they are a sinister existence that surpasses imagination. This is the only answer I will give you. What's this? For some reason, it doesn't feel like he's talking to me. It feels as though his words are directed not at me, who is standing right next to him, but at someone else entirely. But I can no longer ask him anything. Pass a sack. Zhang Manghun's body begins to distort as if becoming yin and yang themselves, disintegrating into tens, hundreds, thousands of Taiji symbols, before scattering everywhere. Wei, a wind blowing westward carries the traces of yin and yang far off into the western distance. The traces of yin and yang seem to distort towards the western end, where the main sect of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect is located, and then vanishes into the void. I grit my teeth as I stare briefly at the spot where he vanished. What a completely useless existence. In the end, all he did was steal Zhang Manghun's body and flee somewhere without offering any help to Ran. Although I'm furious that Zhang Manghun's body was taken, for now, I focus on Ran, gripping his shoulders and shaking him, trying to do anything to help. Get a hold of yourself, Ran. Remember, you are Ran. Don't lose yourself. Ugh. Bloodshot veins appear in Ran's eyes. He grits his teeth. He clenches them so tightly that blood flows from his gums. Kugagugagu. In the distance, the serving command palace begins to move. From the serving command palace, saturated with Hweol's brainwashing waves, an immense flood of brainwashing waves starts to amplify. What? The brainwashing waves literally begin to engulf the entire sky. Seeing this, I realize something. The spell formation that is at the very top of the serving command palace. Is it that? Then, I recall the ritual location Hweol had revealed during the 15th cycle. Ascension Path, Black Castle, Serving Command Palace, and Sea Dragon Palace. That bastard had definitely said that he had already conducted the 4-axis advancement ritual in those places. And the Sea Dragon Palace unmistakably has a structure designed for some sort of ritualistic purpose. Hweol's brainwashing waves emanated from the Ascension Gate on Ascension Path, pierced through the Black Castle, and headed towards the Serving Command Palace. In that case, the next destination must be Sea Dragon Palace. There's no other place it could be. If I want to save Ran, I need to stop whatever Hweol is doing. Just as I attempt to pull Ran back into my domain, I suddenly sense an overwhelming surge of resistance and realize that Ran is not entering my domain. What? Why isn't he suddenly entering my domain? I'm taken aback, but now is not the time to dwell on it. Hastily holding Ran, I use the ground shrinking technique. It's then, Quadatang, Kuhuk, Thud. One moment we are in the northern grasslands, but the next, we are hurled into the heaven-treading desert, directly beneath Ascension Path. Normally, we should have directly reached the Sea Dragon Palace. The ground shrinking technique was cancelled? I understand what's happening. My instincts are rejecting the use of any spells. From the deepest depths of my unconsciousness, a sense of repulsion rises. In the head realm, spells must not be used. Why? What is the meaning of this? My instincts are warning me to not use spells in the head realm. Ridiculous. I don't have time right now. My consciousness trembles from me forcibly trying to cast a spell. But just then, crack. Qua. I clutch my head and collapse on the spot. Hiuk. My conscious domain begins to rampage. Simultaneously, my consciousness begins to read the surroundings uncontrollably. As heaven and earth's spiritual energy reverses, the scene of the heavenly treading desert. The history of Ascension Path begins to be read. And among the scenes of history of Ascension Path, one image etches itself into my mind. Esteemed One, star-shattering stage. It is a star-shattering stage, Esteemed One. At the same time, the heavenly fiends of the Blood-Ean realm come into view. They are pouring into the head realm through the Ascension Gate. The Esteemed One, exuding blood devilish energy of the Blood-Ean realm, descends above the Ascension Path and searches for something. Then, their gaze lands on a certain place. It is none other than the shrine constructed of massive black ore. Since the shrine is positioned directly in front of the Ascension Gate, it is not difficult to find. The Esteemed One of the Blood-Ean realm, with their monstrous form, swings one hand without hesitation. The shrine of Yang Sujin is ripped from its place and flung far outside Ascension Path. The shrine crashes into the heaven-treading desert outside Ascension Path and embeds itself there, leaving only the topmost layer exposed above the desert sands. And the part of that shrine happens to be the Black Castle I am familiar with. Immediately after, the esteemed one of the Blood-Ean realm lets out an eerie scream and overturns the entirety of Ascension Path. The vacant space where Yang Sujin's shrine once stood is shoved to one side of Ascension Path. The esteemed one of the Blood-Ean plane laughs, as though they feel schadenfreude. Then, the esteemed one extends a hand to erase even the fragmented half of Yang Sujin's warning plaque that had been torn apart by their single strike moments earlier. At that moment, the esteemed one's consciousness begins to spiral out of control. The esteemed one suddenly looks up at the sky. In the next moment, the esteemed one starts screaming, as if they witnessed something unimaginably horrifying and terrifying. The same esteemed one who had just violently ripped Yang Sujin's shrine apart now weeps like a child, clutching their head and trembling with pain and despair. Their figure looks as if they had gazed upon something unbearable and gone insane. Pat it. Kahik. Hihuk. Heek. It's only now that I understand why my instincts have been warning me. I withdraw my consciousness domain entirely and lower my gaze, refusing to look directly at the sky. In my opinion, it would be best to quickly kill yourself. It's just that, this place is far too dangerous for anyone at the star-shattering stage and above. I now understand why a being presumed to be a true immortal kept their consciousness domain contracted and their eyes tightly shut. I must not look. I must not use any power. The current me absolutely cannot do such things. I realize I must not recklessly peek at the sky of the head realm, expand my consciousness domain, or use any spells. Doing so could lead to an end more miserable than death. If that's the case, then Co Ran. I carry Co Ran on my back. Afterward, I use only my senses to determine the direction and, with my eyes on the ground, propel myself forward by kicking off the earth. Quang. The physical abilities I possess, having reached the sacred vessel stage, are more than sufficient on their own. With a single kick, I shoot forward like a meteor, reaching the sea beneath the heaven-treading desert. Looking at the reflection of Hweol's brainwashing waves on the surface of the sea, I observe and read the flow of those waves. As expected, it's heading toward the Sea Dragon Palace. Sprinting at full force and determined to shatter the Sea Dragon Palace, I deploy water-traversing steps ever faster and move across the sea. Just hold on a little longer. Co Ran. In the distance, the southern end of the head realm comes into view. With Co Ran still on my back, I prepare to dive. But it seems that's unnecessary. Kugagugagu. The Sea Dragon Palace is surfacing. Do-do-do-do. It's rising up. Cook. Careful not to look directly at the sky, I follow the Sea Dragon Palace's straight ascent from underwater, chasing it as it rises toward the sky. Tingle, tingle. However, as time passes, my body starts stiffening, my head begins to ache, and an indescribable flow of knowledge seems to pour into me, forcing out a groan. Hee-yuck, heek, thump, thump. My heartbeat gradually quickens, and strength drains from my body. Of course, even in this condition, I continue crossing the sea swiftly, but it's clear that my strength is waning. Is this the head realm? Just by keeping my eyes open, my vision gradually starts to warp, and I feel the terrifying gaze of some unfathomable being upon me. This place is far too dangerous for anyone at the star-shattering stage and above. He didn't close his eyes and say such things for no reason. Struggling with all my strength, I force myself to continue using void steps with my eyes shut, rising towards the Sea Dragon Palace. I intend to ram it with my body and destroy it entirely. Kugagugagu. The Sea Dragon Palace, which has been rising in a straight line, finally reaches the upper sky. It arrives at the astronomical observatory of the Sea Dragon race and merges with it. Only then does it come to a stop. That place is. I grit my teeth tightly. That place is where the last remains of Chongmun Ryong are located. If I charge straight into it, his remains could be shattered. It is an absolute salt pillar that turns everything that touches into salt, but now that I have reached the sacred vessel stage, I instinctively feel that I can break it. Clenching my teeth, I kick off the void once more. Master, to save Co Ran, I will honor you in my heart. Hweol's brainwashing waves converge on the Sea Dragon Palace, and I charge towards it without hesitation. Quang. With my body slam, the Sea Dragon Palace collapses before the brainwashing waves can reach it, and the astronomical observatory beyond the palace, along with the last remains of Chongmun Ryong, crumbles completely. The remains of Chongmun Ryong fall. Those remains scattered downward, having turned into nothing more than ordinary salt powder. Perhaps, from the very moment he died in the world of Penglai Island, Chongmun Ryong's remains had already turned into an ordinary salt pillar. Farewell, Master. I silently pay respects and turn to shout at Hweol's brainwashing waves. Stand down, snake scorpion bastard. Your objective has already been blocked. Kuga-guga-gugu. At my shout, the surrounding space trembles. Drip. Blood begins to trickle from my 7 orifices. It's because I deliberately mixed spells into my voice, even at the cost of taking damage. Revealing the authority of the sacred vessel stage, I block Hweol's brainwashing waves. Why ying? A will manifests behind my head. Quickly as possible, I will block Hweol and escape from the head realm without looking at the sky. For now, that is the best course of action. I declare, your spell shall be rewritten. Keying. I have faced Hweol's brainwashing waves multiple times before. My understanding of his tainted soul filling the heavens is sufficient, and this immortal art is one that temporarily reconfigures from what I understand. Therefore, I can manipulate it. Return. Then, a whisper that I cannot possibly deny echoes in my ears. To your origin. It is a voice that sounds all too undeniably correct. Redirecting Hweol's brainwashing waves back to Hweol's origin. That is the best method to block Hweol, who has surged right up to my very eyes. Such a stream of thoughts surfaces in my mind, and the logic behind it is flawless. Thus, I unconsciously follow that whisper and repeat the words aloud. To your origin. At that moment, Pat, Hweol's brainwashing waves suddenly begin to plunge straight into Ran, who is on my back. Hweol's brainwashing waves pierce directly into Ran's body. Then, as those waves pass through Ran entirely, the location where the Sea Dragon Palace once stood, it pierces through the southern end and exits beyond the head realm. Immediately after, the entire world turns blindingly white. I feel as though my mind is clearing for some reason. Do. It seems as if earthquakes and tsunamis are occurring throughout the entire head realm, and a crack suddenly appears across the entirety of the sky. Simultaneously, the phenomenon of the world turning white intensifies, to the point where I can now only see those who are right next to me. As I fall to some unknown place, I find myself face to face with Ran, who, for some reason, is shedding tears. Why are you crying, Ran? I finally remember. He speaks. I remember who the woman in my memory is. He had definitely said that ever since Punlai Island, a certain woman began coming to mind. Who is it? At first, I thought Ran might be recalling someone from Kong Minhe's memories since he had taken on Kong Minhe's role. Later, the possibility arose that he might be Yuo's child, so I wondered if it could have been Yuo. But it is only now that I finally understand exactly who Ran found yearnful, bothersome, annoying, and yet wanted to possess. A woman named Hweol. But I do not know who this person is. I suppose so. Clench. As I fall with Ran to some unknown place, I grit my teeth. For some reason, tears stream from my eyes. Because it was you. What? It was you. My body trembles. Not from fear or cold, but from betrayal, sorrow, absurdity, and pity. It is only now that I understand everything. Yuk Rin of the ancient Force realm was, at first, clearly a cold and rational dragon king with no tears or blood. To achieve his own goals, he was an existence that treated Yukyo as a chess piece or object. But at some point, Yuk Rin became obsessed with Yukyo, desiring to possess her. In Yukyo and Baekrin, he tormented the two lovers as much as possible, trying in every way to separate and inflict pain upon them. Come to think of it, wasn't it strange? Why would the once cold and calculating Dragon King suddenly be consumed by emotions towards Yukyo? The answer is all too simple. Because Ran wanted it. I come to understand the reasons behind the seemingly trivial matters that I had never been able to grasp before across my 998 lifetimes. Why did Ran suddenly think of Hweol? Why did Hweol never kill Ran directly, but always attempt to do so indirectly? Why did the chief judge only punish Hweol's masks and not his main body? Why did the owner of Great Mountain kill everyone, but specifically devoured only Ran's nascent soul? Why did Ran regain his senses on Punlai Island before I did? Why did Hweol, when I said that Ran is my friend, burst out into such uncharacteristic laughter? You were Hweol's main body. I understand everything. The pillar of tainted soul filling the heavens. The treasure Hweol holds most precious. The soul, light. I saw within the heart essence of his tainted soul filling the heavens. Only now do I understand why I have always been so easily swayed by Hweol. It's because the most powerful core of tainted soul filling the heavens has been right beside me, acting as a friend in my heart. Having the core of tainted soul filling the heavens by my side, I have unknowingly been ensnared in its greatest influence all along, even if Ran had no intention of doing so. What do you mean? Ran asks with a look of confusion. I look at Seo Rant's face. If I kill you, I can stop Seo Hweol's conspiracy. Because you are Seo Hweol's greatest weakness. However, tears stream down my face as I grit my teeth. I can absolutely not kill Seo Ran. Therefore, I absolutely cannot kill Seo Hweol. Because Seo Ran is. No, because Seo Hweol is truly my friend. I can destroy Seo Rant's body here and now, even crush his soul, and send him to the underworld. But I release the strength from the hand, holding Seo Rant's body. The world has arrived at the end. Seo Hweol's plan has succeeded, and whether he brainwashes the head realm or does something else, he will attain what he desires in his grasp. You've won, Seo Hweol. In this life, I have no idea what more I can possibly do. I cannot kill my friend, no matter if it's the only way to kill the monster I've hated the most. And so, in the midst of the world that whitens and crumbles with the end, I close my eyes, waiting for my 999th return. I thought this would be my 999th death. An old man carrying a flower basket speaks. Oh, annihilation flower. An unimaginably ominous flower begins to bloom from my chest. Open the doors to the audience chamber. The next moment, the whitened world blinks into darkness. Chapter 498, Bugs. Who was this again? I stare blankly at the old man holding a flower basket, who has appeared beside me at some point, unable to comprehend who he is. The whole world is covered in darkness. Seo Ran, who stands before me, is crumbling away into the shadows. It's not just Seo Ran. The ominous flower blooming from my chest is deconstructing even myself. The ominous flower is devouring me. I am being consumed by this ominous flower, known as the annihilation flower. And then, as I become one with the annihilation flower, I finally understand. The beings who have transcended the limits and boundaries of true immortals. Regarding the plans of the governing immortals, I can feel the world being annihilated. However, this annihilation is not the same as the end that just occurred moments ago. If the typical end is when the universe's attraction force reaches its peaks, causing everything to contract and compress into light and heat, then the annihilation brought about by this annihilation flower is truly nothing but pure, black darkness. It's not a proper end, but rather an act of simply overlaying the concept of death on the world. Everything has ended. I understand. Now, as everything in my body is absorbed by the annihilation flower and its roots, I become annihilation itself and come to understand the plan laid out by the being before my eyes, and the plan laid out by those who are with him. Keying. Everything in the head realm disappears. The great sea, the heaven-treading desert, the west, the east, the north, everything. All that remains is pitch-black darkness, and the sun and moon hanging far off in the sky. Is that the true form of the head realm's sun and moon? It is exactly as described in the diary of the sea dragon race astronomer, John Hyang. The sun and moon of the head realm are fixed in place. It was merely that, when the head realm's world was intact, the flow of yin and yang in the heaven and earth's spiritual energy created an optical illusion, making it seem as if day and night alternated. The sun and moon of the head realm merely exist in a position that seems to overlook the entire head realm from a slightly southern direction. I see. I recall how Seo Hweol's brainwashing waves pierced through the sky at the southern end of the head realm and escaped. The place Seo Hweol escaped to is the forehead, Meijan. The flower basket old man beside me lets out a small exclamation. How astonishing. I thought it was merely the desperate struggle of a bug. And yet it worked? Ha ha ha. The desperate struggle of a bug. Seo Hweol escaping through the forehead. And that feeling of the mind clearing at the last moment. The spell cast over the sea dragon palace that clears the mind. I see now. Finally, I understand what Seo Hweol's true purpose is. It's not about brainwashing the head realm. The head realm is not a being that someone like Seo Hweol can brainwash. As I gaze at the sun and moon before me, I become even more certain. When Seo Hweol seized control of the entire sun and moon heavenly domain, there was only one thing he sought to obtain while manipulating the entire world: to awaken the head realm. I recall the phenomenon from just a moment ago when the world turned white. I thought it was simply the aftermath of the end. But it isn't. The power of annihilation granted to me by the annihilation flower whispers the truth. That phenomenon just now isn't something as simple as the end. It is merely the process of the head realm awakening. If the head realm is a living being, then this living entity currently exerts no influence and is merely in the state of existing. Such a state is often referred to as dreaming by many beings. Seo Hweol temporarily cleared the head realm's mind in an attempt to awaken the being that the main bodies of the 5 middle realms desperately sought to reach. And when a dreaming existence wakes up, the beings within the dream ultimately disappear. The scenery of the world turning white just moments ago. The fact that I was able to fully absorb the candle dragon race as I advanced to the sacred vessel stage. And finally, the claim Hweol made in the diary of John Hyang. His claims that only through ascension can we have dignity. Yes, perhaps, because beings within a dream can only attain dignity when stepping outside the dream. Hweol may have chosen to lead everyone into collective ascension. It's when I am lost in thought, contemplating such notions. The flower basket old man opens his eyes wide, staring beyond the darkness. He appears astonished as he looks at the forehead of the sun and moon. The bug has come face to face. Hweol is doing something with the awakened head realm. Is he now facing something absolute? If so, then, what is it that he is seeing? Afterward, I see a resplendent radiance at the southern end of the world. Thunk, that is the end. Huh, I feel something strange. It's bright. The sky is blue, and the earth is green. From far away, the scent of the sea drifts toward me. This is nice. Though my body has been obliterated by the annihilation flower, I can still feel senses. For some reason, a drowsy feeling washes over me, making me want to fall asleep. But something is strange. Why am I suddenly in a place like this? I dove into the lightning sacred sea to save John Myung-hoon. Ended up in the head realm and Ran and Hweol. Suddenly, I realized something strange. Who was Hweol again? Tingle. For some reason, the canvas of myriad forms and connections shakes violently. I ponder for a while about the name Hweol, which just came to mind, and finally, I understand. Hweol is just a type of blue earthworm. Why did I come looking for something like that? It's strange. The canvas of myriad forms and connections is shaking violently like mad. But I can't understand. For some reason, the thought of blue earthworm refuses to leave my mind. Blue earthworm, a medicinal ingredient collectively referred to as Hweol, a meager, insignificant worm ground and added when cultivators in the qi refining stage concoct pills, occasionally referred to as Hweol. No, that's not right. This is my misunderstanding. Hweol is simply a nickname I gave to one of those blue earthworms. Why did I give a nickname to a worm? I can't remember. From the very beginning, I can't even recall the origin of the name Hweol. I have no idea what logic led me to even give such a name. What is certain is that Hweol is a non-existent term. Right now, instead of wasting time on something so unimportant, I need to focus on the suddenly thrashing canvas of myriad forms and connections, this flower basket old man, and myself, who has become an annihilation flower. Then, I noticed the old man with the flower basket trembling violently beside me. He is staring at the sky as if overcome with chills. What? Just then, he suddenly yells out in a roar. Remember, seeing. His roar stays stuck in my mind. Along with it, together with a shock as if struck in the back of the head, I feel something terrifying rising in my head. The canvas of myriad forms and connections stabilizes. And, with a single word, I recall everything I had forgotten, up until now. The name of the true immortal whom I met on the lowest floor of the Serving Command Arc in the past, Bong Myong. The black dragon I encountered through the black dragon True Blood. The name Yu Haote revealed by the black dragon, in the moment of that encounter. And, in my 19th cycle, the flower basket old man who had ridden on my shoulder the entire time throughout. Everything about the Sal tree heavenly venerable comes flooding back. And, Ziying, Hururum. I come to know who Hweol is. A brutal, wrenching pain feels as though it is tearing through my brain. I tremble in horror at the sensation of having learned something I should not know. Just now, at that very moment, the existence of Hweol had vanished from the world. It was carved out of history entirely, rewritten, Gaban, into nothing more than a nickname for blue earthworms. A dreadful truth that I would have remained oblivious had the Sal tree heavenly venerable not revealed it to me. Hweol has been excised because he came to know something he should not have known. Without anyone being able to perceive it, in just a single moment, the Sal tree heavenly venerable opens his mouth. Despite detonating all the power accumulated in the annihilation flower over 100 million years, the door still remains closed. Making their way into this audience chamber with nothing but their innate authority. Salt sea, vast cold. Those two, just what? A tone that seems to be lamenting about something. But I, suffering from the agony of retaining memories of an erased existence, find it difficult to interpret the meaning of his words. Kugugugugu. Then, while I fail to regain my senses, the Sal tree heavenly venerable lifts me, who has become the annihilation flower. I have come to understand that my strength alone cannot suffice. And, as you said, I know that light is insidious. Still gazing towards the southern end, he turns his head to the right and speaks to someone. I think I know who that someone is. That being is meticulous beyond imagination. Perhaps even all of our actions are part of their prophecy. However, this time will be different. This time, we are not attempting to defy the heavens, Nitan. The Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable is transcending space-time with the entity possessing John Myung-hoon to converse. The prophecy of Great Mountain has already brought you to this place. Cooperate, as the chaos has already begun. Kurung, Kururum. With every word he speaks, the ominous energy, Shungcheep, flowing from my annihilation flower-turned body, dyes the surroundings. As if it will annihilate the world all over again. The Radiance 8 immortals cannot come here. Never mind the lightning sacred sea, because the role of the annihilation flower does not end with simply knocking on the doors of the audience chamber. Heavenly King, Heavenly Domain. Or rather, in the place that used to be the Heavenly King, Heavenly Domain, 8 giants of light with despondent demeanors stand trembling in humiliation as they look upon the collapsed domain. OHEAVENLYVENERABLES. WASTHATALLOFYOU. The 8 giants collectively glare beyond the ruins of the Heavenly King Heavenly Domain at the Sun and Moon Heavenly Domain, now being recreated after the end. There, the single move unleashed by the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable blankets the head realm in annihilation, using that annihilation as a coordinate to open a direct path towards the existence connected to the annihilation flower. The Radiance 8 immortals, who had been preparing to stop the Great Mountain Supreme Deity in the Heavenly King Heavenly Domain, collectively grit their teeth in anger and tremble in fury. Seo Un-hyun, who has become the annihilation flower, and the existence connected to him, the owner of Mountain, who had been watching the closing act of the Supreme Deity hunt, begins to properly exert their strength. Eastern end of the head realm. In a place where a small hole has formed in the dimensional barrier from the activation of the annihilation flower, someone enters. Kook. It is Hong Fan, who has lowered his cultivation to the integration stage and entered. Stepping onto the easternmost land, Hong Fan, perhaps unaccustomed to his senses being constrained to the integration stage, perhaps unaccustomed after traversing such a vast boundary. He clutches his head and staggers in place for a moment. During this time, Hong Fan accidentally steps on and crushes a blue earthworm that had just crawled out from underground. Regaining his composure, Hong Fan lifts the foot that had squashed the blue earthworm. The blue worm lies crushed and dead. Seeing this, Hong Fan kneels down for a moment, as if feeling regret. I am sorry, little bug. It was not my intention. But alas, you could have just stayed buried in your burrow and lived. Why did you stick your head out of it? Pitiful child. As if sympathetic, Hong Fan buries the crushed blue earthworm back into the earth and builds a small mound over it. If there is a next life, then please, do not stick your head out of the burrow. You might get stepped on and die. Even if you do come out, quickly retreat back inside, so that no one steps on you. After briefly praying for the blue earthworm's rebirth in paradise, Jalura, Hong Fan regains his balance and looks towards a distant place, the place from which an overwhelming power of annihilation emanates. Step. Hong Fan, with a hardened expression, uses the ground-shrinking technique towards the power of annihilation. The path has already been laid. Kugugugugu. Once again, the head realm faces annihilation. Simultaneously, I sense a significant change in the attraction force emanating from the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable. The Heavenly Venerable's attraction force shifts the axis of space-time. Throughout the world, I can feel the fabric of time and space being wildly distorted. At the same time, I catch a faint glimpse of Yang Sung, Lingsheng, flickering beyond the sky. Yang Sung, empowered by the authority of the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable, activates something. Please come. Western Heaven, Shitan, Great Mountain, Taosan, Liberation, Jifeng. At that exact moment, beyond the distorted flow of time, the path connected to the annihilation flower is revealed. Beyond the annihilating head realm, someone begin to emerge. So that's what it is. The figure of the flower basket old man begins to gradually distort and twist. From my perspective, only a few seconds have passed, but perhaps due to the time-space distortion caused by the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable and Yang Sung, the entities emerging from the rift seem to have already spent thousands, tens of thousands of years. Countless reapers appear, and from the dark and deep recesses, the oldest one descends. The monster that has accumulated power and authority through countless mountains of corpses and seas of blood. The one connected to me, the Great Mountain Supreme Deity emerges. And behind them, though the figure is not clearly visible, a somewhat familiar being makes their entrance. From the old man who has been holding me until now, flowers of various shapes and colors bloom from his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. He begins transforming into a colossal bizarre god, Gesha, composed entirely of a flower field. The snake is coming. The voice of the Old One echoes. I feel my entire soul being crushed under the weight of their presence. The very existence and mass of these entities distorts reality itself. The Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable releases me on the spot, as if summoning these great entities to this place is the end of my role. The great beings summoned here no longer pay attention to me. Among them, the owner of the great mountain seems to briefly glance at me, but as if deciding it is not important right now, they divert their gaze. However, I am struck by a powerful shockwave just from that gaze, and I am sent flying far into the distance. In an instant, I am flung beyond the head realm and into the newly created astral realm as I watch their backs. At the forefront, the bizarre god of the flower field speaks. At last, the moment has arrived to break open the door. In order to save time. With those words, the great beings begin to exert their power. Under their authority, the entirety of the newly created Sun and Moon heavenly domain, no, even beyond the Sun and Moon heavenly domain, trembles under their overwhelming authority. Wying. For some reason, the oldest one seems to slightly glance back at me. From within a darkness so deep that even perceiving is difficult, the oldest one does something to me. I immediately understand what they have done. They have forbidden Jean my death. I see. While I am uncertain about the others, I can tell that at least this being is clearly aware of my regression. And so, under their authority, the world twists, and a blinding light illuminates everything. That's the end. Hweol, I, now reduced to a single flower petal drained of all power, drift endlessly through the universe, unable to die. The first year is bearable. But 2 years pass, then 3, then 10. In this state as a flower petal, I am utterly incapable of doing anything. Complete powerlessness, Hweol. However, I can feel my authority gradually returning. At the outskirts of the underworld, my authority as a sacred vessel's sacred master begins to return. In this form, as a single flower petal, if I can just connect to the outskirts of the netherworld after recovering all my authority, I can regain my strength. But I have no way to do so. 100 years have passed. I decide to carry out the sacred vessel advancement ritual for the Earth tribe by splitting my consciousness right now. After all, immortal arts are activated by the heart alone. Reciting the flawless mantra, I think of being upside down in my state as a flower petal as I fragment my mind. 1,000 years have passed. In subjective time, it felt like 10 million years. Is it because I had already undergone the Heaven Tribe's Sacred Vessel Advancement Ritual? The Earth Tribe's Sacred Vessel Advancement Ritual is 99% complete. Though confined to the tiny interior of this flower petal, I created a race, formed a world, and developed civilizations through my thoughts. Nishe. The civilizations that emerged within my thoughts ultimately unified into one and returned to me, becoming me once again. By reclaiming my body and conducting a simplified version of the Earth Tribe Sacred Vessel Advancement Ritual, I can now advance to the Heaven and Earth Dual Cultivation Sacred Vessel stage. While my ability to wield immortal arts has improved, I am still far from finding a way to restore my body and authority. Because the underworld has forbidden, Jean, my death, I cannot enter the underworld, let alone its outskirts. To overcome this, I must either obtain power strong enough to shatter the prohibition of the heavenly venerable of the underworld or find something capable of ignoring the prohibition altogether. 10,000 years pass. I drift across various corners of the universe, occasionally being devoured by innate star-shattering esteemed ones and excreted as waste while wandering through the world. Since I cannot die anyway, I am not particularly worried. I attempt anything to find a way to connect to the netherworld. I try to achieve this through immortal arts, but every immortal art I can employ is swallowed by the heavenly venerable's prohibition. With immortal arts alone, I can never regain my strength. Realizing this, I search for other methods. I cling to innate star-shattering esteemed ones, parasitizing them with my immortal arts, taking control over them, and testing my methods. I even try creating puppets or mechanical devices through parasitism. I activate every ritual and spell I know. As a last resort, I even offer a ritual to the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord. However, the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord does not respond at all. I also try to search for my comrades, but ever since the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable and Yang Sung distorted time and space, I can no longer access the middle realms from the astral realm. I attempt to distort space-time using immortal arts to ascend, but, in a state devoid of spiritual power, chi, or attraction force, going to the middle realm feels impossibly distant. Even doing so by guiding innate star-shattering stage esteemed ones results in the same. Perhaps it's due to a problem with space-time itself, as even with the power of esteemed ones, ascension is far too difficult. After realizing how difficult it is to meet my comrades, I fall into extreme suicidal urges. However, there is no way for me to die. Since I am not entirely free to use immortal arts, I spend most of my time in a powerless state as a mere flower petal, contemplating how to escape this condition. Another 100,000 years pass. Now, I am 300,000 years old. It is only around this time that I find a way. It is none other than my death energy. See, though my death is forbidden, the power of death accumulated in my soul remains intact. To reclaim my power in this world where everything else has disappeared, I search for a way to harness this death energy. Using the phenomena extinguishing mantra to push attraction force to its peak, and then causing it to explode can temporarily dissolve the death energy. That much is the truth. Thus, I begin searching for a way to handle death energy through the phenomena extinguishing mantra. Time flows endlessly once more. Then, when I reach exactly 320,000 years of age, the result of relentless imagining, contemplating, doubting, and reconstructing the method of handling death energy is, I realize that I am going insane. Someday, a circle, Feng, appears before my eyes. It is the circle that Hweol once drew. Previously, this circle had terrified me. The sight of Hweol mercilessly smashing the circle and the void that extended beyond it were horrifying to the point that I couldn't dare grip my sword. But I suddenly sensed something strange. Back then, Hweol's dance was so dreadful and horrifying to me. Yet for some reason, the dance no longer feels as terrifying. Why was I so afraid of something like that? Such a question crosses my mind. Henceforth, I begin to ponder the reason. I turn 330,000 years old. My sense of time seems to have started slipping at some point. It's been off for a while, but now it truly feels like I have transcended the era when I wore a human mask. Time no longer feels like a vague, endless flow. To be precise, time no longer scares me. No, I have become unafraid of something else. Is it because of the tens of thousands of years of forced secluded cultivation? I feel as if I have opened my eyes to something. What that something is, I cannot clearly discern. However, when void perception starts to resonate, I wonder whether it's perhaps related to what Hweol had shown me. I endlessly reflect and reflect again on Hweol's dance. How much time has passed? Ah yes, soon, I will turn 400,000 years old. Nearly 200,000 years have passed. Blink. I blink my eyes. When I come to my senses, I find myself suddenly inside a body. And before my eyes stands a familiar being. I understand that this being has temporarily granted me a body. You've come to find me, Hweol. It is the girl in black martial attire, Hweol. She stands upside down in the cosmic space, her face expressionless and hollow as she meets my gaze. For what reason did you come to seek me out? Since it seems you've completed something interesting, I've come to give you a chance to demonstrate it. I'm still too ashamed to reveal it. Show it now. It is already nearly complete, and all that remains is refinement. Even if you name it and use it right now, it won't bring shame. I want to clash with it myself. Kukik, I can't help but laugh for some reason. Even you at the zenith of martial arts, were a heart tribe all along. I merely sought you out because you seem most suitable for a rehearsal before facing Underworld. The oldest one has gone to the head realm. Do you think they will return? As I became the annihilation flower of the Sao, tree heavenly venerable, I came to understand all of the plans of the heavenly venerables and governing immortals. Even the insane acts committed by the great mountain supreme deity. I understood what kind of war they waged and what they were truly planning. Thus, if Underworld does not exist in the end, her so-called rehearsal holds no meaning. However, at my words, Hweol merely sneers at me. Do not worry. Underworld always returns. Pardon. You don't need to know. When the time comes, ask Underworld directly. Sururuk. Darkness gathers in her hand, coalescing into a sword. I watch her for a moment before silently summoning the colorless glass sword. The body I inhabit now is not my main body, but an incarnation created by Hweol. Moreover, communication with my main body, which resides on the outskirts of the netherworld, remains severed. However, it seems Hweol has used her power to allow me to at least summon my sword. For a brief moment, I stare at the sword. Then, as she said, I prepare the singular sword technique I have studied for hundreds of thousands of years. Can you hold the sword now? I can. Woo-woo. She casually draws a circle in the void with her sword. Unlike the last time when her dance drew a circle, this is merely a casual act of roughly tracing a circle in the void. Yet, I feel as though I will be overwhelmed by her martial will emanating from that simple act. But, that is all. I merely smile faintly and lift my sword. Hweol smirks, letting her sword hang loosely. You've become decent. Now show me. After studying for hundreds of thousands of years, what is the answer you have attained? Chiak. I take my stance. This is a single sword technique. Yet, it transcends everything I have accumulated thus far. It is the simplest movement, known among countless swordsmen as a thrust. The colorless glass sword and the all heavens sword merge. The two swords, united as one, become a line. The tip of that sword becomes a point. With this single point, I will execute a thrust. Hweol Gwi smiles gloomily. Her expression is impossible to interpret. A gaze imbued with emotions like welcoming, pity, sympathy, joy, pleasure, depression, and pain. Through tens of thousands of years of solitude and powerlessness, you have come to perceive that place. Sururuk. The sword of darkness begins to become one with her arm. That sword is no simple sword, merely a form that resembles a sword. It is the semblance of martial arts. For some reason, she looks at me with a gaze that seems to be filled with genuine pity. Congratulations on glimpsing the domain of true despair. Now come at me. The next moment, my sword, too, becomes dyed in darkness. No, everything about me is instantly dyed in darkness. I become death. A thought once crossed my mind. If I can compress death energy with the phenomena extinguishing mantra and then detonate it, can I not make use of it? As I pondered this, my thoughts suddenly shifted to Hweol Gwi's martial art. While considering her circle and the use of death energy, I felt my consciousness touch upon a certain realm. It was death, beyond what the heavenly venerable of the underworld sealed away under the name of the cycle of rebirth, the domain of absolute annihilation. I witnessed the true death that resides there. Even the interdimensional void of the heavenly venerable of the void is merely a mimicry of this true death, a path to make it easier for living beings to approach true death. It is not true emptiness. Kong. What is true emptiness? Kong. What is true death? Death is purity, the primordial state of absolute nothingness, the absolute truth that applies equally to all things. Death is rest, and at the same time, peace and great purity. And yet, it was only after 200,000 years of seclusion that I barely glimpsed that truth. I could not reach that place. However, I understand now. Only by reaching that purity can I shatter the heavenly venerable's prohibition and reclaim death. Then, what must I do to reach that place? To reach that domain of purity, I compress everything. All of my life, Song. All of my death, U. All of my heart, Shin. All of my history and all of my future, everything, into a single thrust. I pour everything to aim for the domain of purity, to reach true death. Through the domain of the underworld, domain of the source river, domain of the eastern heaven flower field, and domain of the interdimensional void. I pierce a hole through all of them. I surround my body with death energy, condensed to the point it feels liquefied. What is the identity of this death energy? I have pondered this for a long time, and I finally understood. This death energy is precisely the traces of resistance against fate throughout my countless histories. The traces left behind by my resistance against the fate of death and my endless struggles against the pull of attraction force have crystallized into this death energy. The countless moments when I lost to attraction force, those traces have accumulated to become my shackles. The marks of defeat have become my death energy, trying to once again bind me to the fate of death and forcefully pull me to defeat. But, this time, I do not resist that attraction force of death. Instead, I accept it. I can feel the death energy dragging me towards death. Of course, thanks to the heavenly venerable's prohibition, I do not die. But a pain akin to death engulfs me. 1,000 moments of death flash before my eyes like a revolving lantern. TL, revolving lantern is a metaphor for a rapid flood of memories. All that torment crashes down upon me at once. Take this. Hweol Gwi's sword lowers towards me. I do not resist the power of death. Instead, I comply with it, adding my own will to that power. All of my attraction force and heart, with the formula of the phenomena extinguishing mantra, converge into a single point and become added to the power of death. Pat it. In that state, I thrust. For a fleeting moment, my body transcends life. Through my eyes, I see the dimensions of the source river, the eastern heaven flower field, the interdimensional void, and the netherworld. And then, beyond them, towards true death, towards the domain of purity, I thrust my sword. I no longer perceive Hweol Gwi before my eyes. I simply thrust towards the ultimate of martial arts, severing mountain swordsmanship. 34th move. Complying with the entirety of my attraction force of death, compressing the entirety of my strength, and adding on to it. All for a single thrust. Kunlun. I witness absolute purity. Though it is only through a hole smaller than a mere point, I behold that purity. Passasak. The next moment, my sword shatters, and my body is deeply slashed. My single technique is broken by Hweol Gwi's single strike. Smirk. However, Hweol Gwi smiles. In her right hand, a small hole has been pierced. Sloppy. She offers her critique. I simply smile silently in return. For the first time in hundreds of thousands of years, I am able to hold the sword again. That alone is enough. But it was worth seeing. Concluding her brief evaluation, She bursts her own heart on the spot and dies. I see. I understand her method of taking her own life so easily. It isn't suicide. It is merely abandoning the flesh and moving beyond. A method of drawing infinitely close to the domain of purity and transferring to another place. To her, death is not something to fear. It is merely a part of her martial arts. When I consider that the best I can manage is to create a pinpoint hole capable of glimpsing the domain of purity with all my strength, the gap between her and myself is despairingly vast. But I smile. Passasak. The heavenly venerable's prohibition cannot stop me, who has momentarily transcended the domain of death. I regain all of my authority. At the same time, with every ounce of my willpower exhausted, I can feel my body and soul falling into that deep domain of the underworld. Ah, have they returned? I can feel it. Deep within the underworld, for some reason, I sense the presence of the oldest one. However, having exhausted everything in the recent clash with High and GWI, I have no strength to resist. For reasons unknown, the oldest one does not seem particularly eager to pull me in. I am simply falling, sinking deeper into the domain of the underworld. I don't think High and GWI will particularly help me. Is this how I become taxidermized? It's been a long and eventful journey. I close my eyes and fall deeper into the deep and deeper place, beyond the domain of the underworld. In the place where the sun and moon heavenly domain lies, for some reason, there now exist 3 additional middle realms that appear to have been torn apart and crushed like bugs. Beyond them, the head realm, perhaps it's just my imagination, seems to have grown slightly larger in size. Resigned to being taxidermized for all of eternity, I fall powerlessly like a bug to the deepest depths. That is my 999th return. Chapter 499, 999 Cycles First Day. When I come to my senses, what I see is not the familiar scene from before, not the river of scenes, nor the 10 thrones beneath the black sky, but simply an infinite and boundless darkness, the deepest and most colossal existence, the endless darkness itself that is presumed to be the oldest one. Ah, so I've been taxidermized after all. In the end, it seems that regressing right in front of this existence is meaningless. It appears that my authority of regression will come to an end on this very day. Until now, it has been a good life. It's when I think so. Wawoom. From the boundless darkness, a light bursts forth. The light is pure and white, like salt. I have seen that light before. It's the same light I had seen on Penglai Island. The light of Salt Mountain. When I regain my composure, the light has formed a wheel before my eyes. A wheel far more radiant, beautiful, immense, and sacred than my own. A wheel of pure white brilliance. And as soon as I come to my senses, the wheel begins to reverse. Keying. At the same time, I sense a deep sigh laced with lamentation erupt from the depths of the darkness. Simultaneously, I sense something, twisted, being reversed and returning to its normal state within the wheel's reversal. It feels as though my canvas of myriad forms and connections has eased a little. And just when the wheel halts its reversal, and my canvas of myriad forms and connections feels significantly lighter, I suddenly realize that I am moving farther away from the oldest one. This is keying. Once again, the familiar river of scenes rushes past me, and far in the distance, the black sky emerges with the illuminating 10 thrones. The oldest one has let me go? From a great distance, I seem to hear a voice. We will meet again. That definitely seems to be the meaning behind the voice. As I fail to understand the will of the oldest one, who is letting me go, all I can do is nod. The process of reversing through history is quite long. After all, retracing 200,000 years in a single leap naturally requires some time. Taking advantage of this gap, I look up at the sky that has now become a little familiar. The 10 thrones within it. No, 7. Among them, only 7 thrones are shining. It is then, Sururuk. The light flickers for a moment, then 3 more thrones brighten once again. The number of thrones have become 10. Due to the regression, the thrones are returning. It is at that moment. Is it because my realm has risen? Or is it because something unusual has occurred with the thrones returning? I begin to see something new. From those 10 thrones, I can perceive something. Those are symbols. They are symbols. Among the symbols I had seen before in Yongsung's ring, some of them are now visible, emitting light from the thrones. However, I cannot perceive them clearly, and I can only recognize the symbol of the mountain exuding darkness. That mountain symbol, naturally, belongs to the great mountain supreme deity. Since it is a symbol tied to the connection between me and my senior brother, I recognize it instantly. As I confirm the great mountain supreme deity's symbol, I sense the familiar moment of regression approaching. This time's moment of regression, where will it be? In the past, regression was always fixed upon reaching the head realm. If so, will it be fixed this time as well? As I contemplate this question, I welcome the new 999th cycle of regression. Light envelopes me. Hweol. I come to my senses, and I immediately grasp the current situation. So it's here. Is this fortune, or is this misfortune? Die. I find myself in an all-too-familiar regression point. I am standing right before Blood-Een. I see the authority of the Blood-Een surging toward me. However, unlike before, Blood-Een no longer appears as despair itself. I've been through far too many terrifying things for that to be the case. Hweol. Exhaling death energy from my entire body, I rapidly accelerate my mind. Though the body I inhabit is at the integration stage, I have definitely restored all of my original authority at the time of my death. And ever since reaching void shattering, my authority has begun to accumulate with each regression. Thus, I am now in the sacred vessel stage. Silence and be respectful, Jingsuk. With my mind accelerating after rising to sacred vessel, I utter a single phrase, and Blood-Een flinches. I have come, sent by the Imperial Venerable. Former Chief Judge, respectfully uphold propriety. Keying. Behind my head, Hweol emerges. At the same time, liquefied death energy undulates around me. With a solemn gaze, I glare directly at Blood-Een. Even though true immortals are, without a doubt, true immortals, and staring directly at one means enduring overwhelming pain, I have already witnessed true death. Therefore, I can bear the fear and pain of gazing at a true immortal for a moment. Under my stern rebuke, Blood-Een flinches and shudders before halting on the spot. Then, immediately after, Pat. Blood-Een reveals a form they have not shown even once throughout the entirety of the previous 900 cycles. Blood-Een's form shrinks. The massive lump of blood mist that was Blood-Een shrinks to a size comparable to mine as they transform. Sururuk. Transforming into a human form, Blood-Een, now concealing their presence, locks eyes with me. I can't help but be surprised the moment I see their appearance. They somewhat resemble Hweol, but at the same time, there is a lingering impression of Hweol. With eyes that look slightly fierce but a countenance that could appear exceptionally kind if he smiles, an overall soft impression. Does the distinguished one have proof that he is the envoy of the Imperial Venerable? He sharply questions me. However, I respond without faltering. I was sent by the Imperial Venerable. Verify it for yourself. Do you not possess the eyes that judge all vice? This is no jest, but the simple truth. I have returned to this time point because the Heavenly Venerable of the Underworld granted me permission to regress and sent me back. Hweol. For a moment, red energy flashes in Blood-Een's eyes. Then, letting out a low groan, he kneels on one knee before me. Watching. Simultaneously, the surrounding space begins to be rewritten. With Blood-Een's will, a small dimension forms within the interdimensional void, and both he and I, along with my comrades, are relocated to a space resembling a reception chamber adorned with gemstones radiating dark red light. To the one sent by the Imperial Venerable, this, Blood-Een, pays his respects. I apologize for being unable to welcome thee under the name of Hweol. Though he usually refers to himself as Hweol, it seems he still has some conscience that compels him to properly introduce himself as Blood-Een as he recognizes me as a fellow Reaper. I survey my surroundings. So he created a small dimension on the spot. I could think of it as a simple reception chamber, but it's a type of barrier meant to prevent me from escaping in case of emergency. I cannot let my guard down. I convey the words of the Imperial Venerable. You, the former Chief Judge, are to immediately abolish the clone called Hweol. May I ask the reason? It is the doing of the Imperial Venerable. Do you not trust this? For a moment, Blood-Een raises his head and looks at me. My legs feel like trembling under that crimson gaze. This isn't fear, but a sort of instinct. An instinct born of the overwhelming disparity in rank between a sacred vessel and a true immortal. Understood. Snap. Blood-Een snaps his fingers on the spot. Simultaneously, an illusion appears before my eyes. This isn't an ordinary illusion. It's practically a dimensional passage connected almost directly to the astral realm. Out of the 2,401 stars, 2,400 simultaneously lose their light and crumble into fragments. The constellation known as Hweol no longer exists. All that remains is a single planet. What is the reason for leaving one behind? It is because I trust in the Imperial Venerable. If you truly have faith, then sever it without hesitation. Then, Blood-Een glares at me. As expected, this wretched bug has deceived this immortal. Upon hearing those words, I gather my comrades and immediately detonate my integration stage body without hesitation. Quong. Right here, on the spot, I initiate the advancement ritual for the star-shattering stage. Quadragigic. Under the self-destruction of a grand perfection integration stage, the small dimension tears apart. Kururung. Nebulae spread outward, and I feel Blood-Een once again in his true form glaring at me. Do not expect to die peacefully. How dare you impersonate an envoy of the Imperial Venerable and destroy this immortal's clone? Spy of light. Kugugugugu. An immense pressure crashes down on me. It seems I've made some sort of mistake in front of Bloodine. Is leaving a single star intact something the Heavenly Venerable of the Underworld would have normally allowed? Or was there some gap shown in our brief conversation? I quickly condense my origin star. In the previous life, I reached the Sacred Vessel stage of the Heaven Tribe, and also underwent the advancement ritual for the Earth Tribe Sacred Vessel stage. What remains now is to complete the Earth Tribe advancement ritual perfectly with this origin star and face both the star-shattering and Sacred Vessel heavenly tribulations simultaneously. If I succeed, I will truly reach the 3 great ultimates of the Sacred Vessel stage. A spy of light, you say? What a strange claim. You summon the Radiant's 8 immortals, yet dare to speak lies. Immediately, Bloodine uses some kind of transcendent authority. However, I silently turn the wheel. I declare, your authority shall be rewritten. I've endured that single strike Bloodine used to subdue me many times before. I've come to understand it to this extent. Pasasasa. Bloodyin's attack truly transforms into a wave, merely sweeping over me. I can sense Bloodyin's astonishment. However, I still feel a powerful distrust lingering in the depths of his consciousness. Because of some mistake during our conversation, it seems he won't believe me no matter what trick I pull. If that's the case, I'll have to proceed as originally planned. This is actually better. In the first place, bluffing in front of Bloodine was nothing more than a gamble. Thinking, would he believe me if I do this? On the contrary, just having him kneel before me and smash high an EOM to that extent is already a gain. Seizing the moment when Bloodine is taken aback, I quickly move from the interdimensional void to the astral realm. From behind, I hear the sound of Bloodyine's enraged roar. But I begin to manipulate the attraction force of the sun and moon heavenly domain. Why yang? The laws surrounding me rotate like a wheel. At the same time, the dimensions thicken, sealing tightly so that Bloodine cannot enter. Kugugugugu. From beyond, I can feel Bloodine trembling in fury, attempting to break through to the sun and moon heavenly domain. And finally, Quaching. A section of the sun and moon heavenly domain collapses, and an enormous, colossal red arm bursts through. Simultaneously, the universe is rewritten. Under Bloodyin's will, the universe changes in various places. However, I see it. How Bloodine manipulates this world, and how the universe obeys his commands. I can escape. I'm sure of it. Wherever Bloodine sends his will to form a barrier, I send mine to dismantle it. When he sends his authority, I reverse it. When he sends a curse, I reflect it. When he uses attraction force, I respond with repulsive force. Bloodyine's single arm and I are competing on nearly equal footing. However, it's not enough. If this drags out, I'll definitely lose. Even now, Bloodine is so enraged that he's not in his right mind, which is the only reason I'm managing to exchange moves with him. It's not enough with just this. More, an even stronger decisive move. Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. 33rd move. Sumeru. The Sumeru sword dance draws a circle around me, beginning to borrow the power of the sun and moon heavenly domain. Once again, the sword spear heavenly lord might obsess over me. Therefore, this time, I block even the possibility of such an outcome at its root. Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. 34th move. Kunlun. The move of Sumeru and the move of Kunlun unite. I transform Sumeru's final decisive stroke into a thrust, spreading the thick death energy of me and the entire world. Then, stepping beyond the underworld, I unleash a single thrust that reaches true death. Keying. For an instant, my body transcends the sun and moon heavenly domain. And Bloodyin's true body. I can perceive beyond it all. Pot. A thrust faster and more precise than anything else. Puak. Immediately after, the world freezes. It feels as though the vibrations of the entire world have subsided. At the same time, I hear the scream of Bloodine, who now has a small hole in one of his hands. I immediately turn around and leap across dozens of light years using the ground shrinking technique. The one and only means to desecrate Bloodyin's fate, which I couldn't use in my previous life due to the sword spear Heavenly Lord's interference. In this life, I will use it.